Welcome to Something to Marvel About, a podcast where we discuss and dissect the week's MCU releases. My name's Dave, and joining me because if I'm going to be stuck in the endless abyss of podcasting, it's better to do it with others than to do it by myself. My co-hosts, Raven and Andrew. What's up?
What up, Dave?
What's up, everyone?
Yow.
What?
Join me in this
Yow.
endless chamber. If it wasn't for you, I would be all alone and lonely by myself. But guess what? We have a group hug called this podcast.
Care
We're here to
Bears.
talk Thunderbolts, Marvel's latest movie. And I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I hear rumors that Marvel might be back. We're here to discuss that to see if that's true. That's what word on the street I'm hearing.
What's all back?
I'm hearing
I
that.
think Marvel is back. I think it is safe to say.
Daredevil and Thunderbolts.
Sorry,
I'm
haters.
just
Haters gonna
saying.
hate, but Marvel's back.
Yeah. So let's go into that discussing Thunderbolts. Raven, spoiler free. What did you think?
Wow. I thought all in all it was a great movie about mental health and mental health awareness, which I didn't expect going in. I thought it was a really great movie about family and the power of teams and groups and how important it is to have a support system. I think this is probably the most well-balanced Marvel movie we've gotten in a while. And probably one of the better films since, I want to say, probably Guardians 3. But I'll actually watch this again. I'll never watch Guardians 3 again in my life. Hell no, sad ass freaking movie.
Ironically, for the same mental health
Amazing
issue,
movie, but I also
for your
will
mental
not
health.
watch.
Different kind of
Exactly
For your
that.
mental health.
Exactly. It's the exact opposite on the spectrum, where it's like that movie makes me depressed, and this one is about the depression that movie gave me. But but yeah, I felt like this movie was well balanced. Like the stakes were high, but in a way that was grounded in the reality that was created. I felt like this was a different turn for Marvel, and in terms of the kinds of movies that we're used to, like I don't want to say shoot 'em up, but kind of more action,
Beat 'em up.
CGI, kind of like fight the aliens, destroy
There's
the
one-
city.
There's one
kind of
line, and it's not
movie.
really a spoiler. There's one line that someone says in this movie, and it's in the trailer, that says, "What? All of us just punch and shoot?"
Just punch and shoot, exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that this movie is about that. Even when all you do is punch and shoot, there's so many other ways you can contribute and be a hero that might go overlooked.
Yeah.
And I love that we got to see an alternative way of being a hero in this, and we got to kind of dive further into why a lot of us love Marvel outside of just the MCU. The comics actually mirror real life, and that's kind of the best thing about Marvel is usually whatever is going on in society is also going on in the comics.
Yeah.
And Marvel, the actual comics, deal with everything, every type of adulthood you could think of, from depression to mental illness, domestic violence, there's all those kinds of things. And
Drug
I like that
abuse.
drug abuse, addiction. So I love that we're finally at the point where we're getting into the more subcultures and the deeper, more darker areas of Marvel comics, and getting to see the less clean cut heroes and kind of seeing more of those gray area heroes that a lot of us love. So yeah, well-rounded movie, favorite in a long time.
Andrew, a lot of people are talking about how this movie, we said how Marvel's back, but people talk about, like Raven said, how this movie is playing around with different things that you don't expect. But also a lot of people are saying that this movie also kind of takes it back to why we started loving the MCU. What did you think, spoiler free?
I have to agree, right? I think, firstly, character building, right? If nothing else, this movie was just great storylines interwoven. Yelena, my fave, heart you, like she I don't want to say she carried the movie because they all brought the weight, but like she was such a great quote unquote lead character for me. And everybody brought it, right? The villain, no spoiler on any names, but I think the character building was one of the greatest things for me because I think, first Avengers was very good in, sure, we knew these characters, but it showed us how they intercommunicated, right? And this kind of had that similar effect. And just seeing different characters go through different trajectories, like, shout out Bucky, it's another fave. And I think it was also well paced. A lot of no-name Marvel movies have sometimes felt rushed. Man, 3 were not, the bestly timed movies, but I feel like this one they just hit the nail on the head in so many ways, right? Like with the human side, with the even the little bit of like non super stuff or non like action packed interactions like in the courts and the regular offices. I feel like we got a good slice of seeing the entire world. Um, Plus even the end credits. So yeah, I think for me definitely top 5 movies. Like it's right after Winter Soldier, just because Winter Soldier is hard. It's like just right under for me
To
personally.
the point where I gotta go top 10. There's too
That's
many.
right, right.
Yeah.
But like,
Because I'm
this,
like,
this is Marvel movie number 36.
damn. I mean,
damn,
so,
that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta do top 10.
right, like
Or like top 5. Like, 3
and
isn't
top
even
7,
fair.
top 7. Let's just say top 7. There are a lot of
And then when
bangers.
Right.
when you think of that context, when people like to give Marvel shit, I'm like, even when they fall off, right? Out of that 36, I would happily say a good high 20s are great.
Yeah.
I wanna
You
say
know,
26.
And probably
I'm
You know what
27.
I'm saying?
minimum,
Like,
at minimum,
at
without
least.
thinking about it,
Yeah.
without thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they still have a good record,
Yeah.
right? And then for those of you who kind of follow the behind the scenes of all of this stuff, we know that around the Endgame era, Disney CEO at the time, Bob Iger, he left, retired, and they had a new CEO come in. Well, that new CEO came in and just said, content, money, streaming services. And at the time, we thought maybe that might be cool. Yeah, Marvel every week. But guess what? Someone like Kevin Feige, he you can't be the head of everything and pay attention to everything when you're doing so many things. And I think it showed. And so he was fired. The Bob Chapek, and then Bob Iger was brought back.
Yeah.
And fun fact, both Daredevil and Thunderbolts are the first projects that Bob Iger greenlit when he came back.
Surprise.
It makes sense. We can see, there's articles out that, but Kevin Feige, he was also worried. He's like, he couldn't spend much attention on these things. He wanted to slow things down, and now they've kind of put a pause and slowed things down in a sense in terms of releases and focus on individual movies. And I think what this brought to the point is that this had personality. This movie had personality, right? It didn't feel like quote unquote a generic cookie cutter movie.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Have any of you seen the TV show Beef?
No.
On Netflix.
Apparently the director.
Fantastic. Same director.
Yeah.
And he deals with these themes, similar kind of themes. And when you look at it, you're like, wow, this is his movie in the Marvel universe, as opposed to him being a director for hire, doing it how Marvel wanted it to be. And then I also think, a lot of these movies always have some kind of visual effects a capacity or elements to them, right? What I loved about this movie is that even if it did have computer generated effects, it felt like they were shot in camera, like things that were out in the streets in the world. They weren't in a soundstage somewhere.
A lot of things were actually practical effects, which is amazing. And looking up, a lot of the behind the scenes I was looking up, I realized how many things were actually practical. Like switching from wait, are we in the spoiler part?
No, spoiler free.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, there's parts of the movie.
There's a camera
where
in the movie?
There's a sequence where a montage happens. And a montage switches from room to room. And when it switches from room to room, the on set is actually practical. They're actually literally traveling through different rooms on set. And things that might be moving or not moving, which you've seen in the trailer, so it's not that much of a spoiler, are actually practical effects.
Or that
True debris.
The opening stunt was real.
It's
done by
Florence.
by Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh killed it.
Like, oh, that's great. And I think, go on, Andrew.
I was going to say, because you also have Black Widow, right? Because the internet is convinced she's trying to make up for, her final scene. If you remember it, it was very terrible CGI. She does an explosion, and she literally looked like a PowerPoint flying over the screen. So she was like, "I'll show you."
And that's the thing. I think this did a good job of kind of making it like a good team movie that was fun again. I think, and also it took us back to original Marvel, where two things. One, I think what made Marvel Universe special from the very, very beginning, right, was when we got Iron Man, when we got Hulk, when we got Thor, those were fine, those were good. but it didn't make Marvel special yet. It was doing what others had done. What made Marvel special was like, oh shit, Iron Man's talking to Thor.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Hulk's talking to, Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Bringing these characters together and seeing, and I think when you think about it, some of the best Marvel movies are when you put characters together.
Mhm.
Like even
Well,
solo
those are the
movies.
most epic.
Exactly.
I think that's what
exactly.
sucks sometimes is that, lately, the past couple of Marvel releases, audiences have been super hard on a lot of the releases because, oh, well, we expected to see this person, we expected to see that person. Not every movie is an Avengers film.
Yeah.
No.
The same way that in
Tell
the
that
comics,
to Thunderbolts.
right?
Star.
People have their own
Masters.
storylines. Yeah. In the comics, people have their own storylines where, like, while there's huge fights going down in Manhattan, they're just running around and gathering intel,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like
yeah.
6 to 8 different issues.
Yeah.
So, it's like there has to be both, kind of, to some extent. Granted, some things are inexcusable, secret invasion. But, for the most part, I think we've gotten a lot of like, oh, well, this is the best we could do with what we had. Whereas, like, now it finally feels like we're like, I don't know, trying again. Like
Branching
you said,
out.
it does feel like Winter Soldier again.
But also, like, putting in, even in Winter Soldier, right, there's certain characters that you see that obviously you expect them, but it's just fun to be like, oh shit, it's Nat.
Yeah.
Oh shit, and then also, like, I think sometimes we forgot to add in new characters together that we've seen before. So these are characters we've seen before, but we've never seen them interact together. So I think mixing that interaction was a great way to kind of sell us on the characters, even though we don't really know them. We know them through them knowing each other.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into spoilers because I really want to talk about
about everything.
There's so many things to talk about.
Everything. Let's
and
start.
I would say too, the stakes felt grounded in this
Yes.
movie. Like, it
Yes.
felt just,
but
like,
not
it was
Not
understandable.
semi-grounded.
but not any less, but not any less like important.
World ending.
Right? It's still like.
But it felt grounded, but not. It felt grounded in the sense of like, this is I don't know, like, I could believe this is real,
Yes,
like,
yes,
I
yes.
believe this is
Yeah.
real, or at least in the reality that's been created, nothing feels out of
Correct,
place.
yeah.
Right. And within that, I also feel like as grounded as it is, it's like, I think the practical effects, the acting, there's so many things that made this movie just feel so, like, resonate so much more with us. And I think that this film feels like Marvel again, like everyone's saying. Like, it feels like watching Avengers again for the first time, or Guardians for the first time, and it's like exciting again.
Yeah.
But I feel like we finally, I don't know, like, this movie, we get to see how the world was affected again. I feel like it's been a while where we've been like either in outer space, or we've been doing like what do you call it, standalone battles, sort of, to where the stakes are kind of confusing, because it's like, if this fight happens on a spaceship, once this spaceship goes down, the rest of humanity's fine, right?
Yeah.
Like, or like, these other aliens are fine, this world is fine. So I feel like we haven't seen anything that affects like the everyday person in a while. I don't know.
But I think what helps is that none of them are super, not just in abilities, but in personalities.
Right. So the way they're gonna have to solve a problem is gonna have to also be practical.
Yeah.
But not just that, right? Cap and Bucky and Alexi and John Walker, they have similar power sets, right? What's the difference? Cap's a good man.
Yeah.
So because he's a good man, we put him on a pedestal. And so his perspective doesn't feel normal. Whereas because they are so flawed and so broken, we can almost connect to them easier because they feel closer to us. So the perspective feels grounded, right?
Definitely way more relatable. Most relatable characters we've had in a long time, because we could relate to being any of them.
And I think that's what it does a fantastic job. I remember when the cast was announced, you mentioned, Raven, you mentioned how what Marvel does great at is kind of connecting with real world stuff. I think that also applies to how they know fans will react, because they like to play fans, right? Because and in terms of by design, so because I remember when this was announced, people were like, "That's the cast? What? That's a whole bunch of people that shoot stuff."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, duh.
All you can do is point and shoot.
And even
which actually isn't the truth, because good old Bob could fly all along.
Right.
Could have gotten him out of that elevator shaft.
And even little things like how it ends. I'm jumping ahead in terms of them being the new Avengers, right? There's a lot of people in real life like, what? who, them,
Yeah.
and in the movie, that's what everyone's saying.
Exactly,
Like,
at the
The
end.
Avengers.
The Avengers is so funny.
the Avengers, it's not my Avengers, you know. And I think so. I
Yeah.
think that's what Marvel's genius is. Like
The
they know,
Ha heard round the world.
they know how you're going to react to it.
Yeah.
And I think this does a good job of, because one of the questions everyone asked after Endgame was like, "Who's the next Avengers? Who's the next Avengers?" And I think because of nostalgia being so powerful, there's a lot of people that find it hard to let go of the core team.
Yeah.
Like, that's not Thor.
Yeah.
That's not the, you know. And I think this movie did a good job of being like, it doesn't matter. It's not the same team.
And the
You'll
truth
enjoy
is,
it.
that happens in comics too. Right?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
Yeah,
It's
all the
literally the
time.
same
it tracks
all the time. It's
Like,
rotating
all the time.
roster.
literally,
You know?
it happens
Yeah,
in
true,
sports.
because that's
Your
the thing.
football team changes, you know, players, and you're like, oh,
Because
that's
in
not my team.
comics,
It's like, shut up.
technically in comics they could keep the exact same people all
Forever,
the time.
yeah.
You know,
'Cause
it's
it's
just a drawing.
Yeah.
It's a drawing, and even that they replace people.
Yeah.
There's new Captain Americas. There's different.
The X-Men, everybody.
Captain America's been a few different people, right?
I mean,
the Avengers,
in the
the
comics,
X-Men.
in the comics, the new Avengers was led by Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
The regular Avengers was
Imagine
led
some
by
people are
Wasp.
pissed.
We barely even see her in the MCU.
exactly. So let's talk
You
about
know?
the characters. You know, this team, I think they did a good job of bringing us the characters very quickly. But obviously, this whole movie's anchored by Florence Pugh. So even I want to talk about her, where we find her in the beginning, right? We find her in the beginning on a mission. She's just all blah with life and everything like that. What did you think? And I just even seeing her doing her action scenes in her sweats, because she's just like, I don't care. She's that good, but she has no purpose. What did you think of the introduction of her character?
Absolutely love the opening. Because it reads almost like a diary entry in the beginning, you know, which I love that, you know, one of the overarching themes ends up being depression in the film, because it starts off feeling like this is a letter, you know, to self kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think first of all, Florence Pugh, man, what a powerhouse. Like, just such an amazing actress. Because in finding out, you know, I already was captivated by the opening scene, her hanging off the edge of this building, and not necessarily assuming it's CGI, but assuming maybe she's sitting there, but she's not the one jumping.
They switched
little
stuff
fun
up.
fact. Yeah, little fun fact. Florence Pugh is actually the person who jumped. She jumped herself, and she insisted on it because initially Disney fought her on it and said absolutely not. Like, director and Florence went to Disney, and Disney immediately said basically hell no. And it was actually Florence who campaigned to get to do the stunt. And with doing the stunt, she actually thought when she got the okay that there was going to be like a net or a trampoline or something during the scene. And basically they ended up having to tell her like, no, there's no net. We can't net a building. This is a whole building. Like, how would we be able to, you know, like, we can't wrap anything around the building or a net for you for the stunt. Like,
there's nothing to connect to, ma'am.
So when she's up there, she's hooked up to cables. Don't get me wrong, you know, there's cables, but she's really actually hanging off the edge of that building. She actually does jump herself. And I think to be able to do that while acting that well, because her face never changes. Her face, her demeanor, the body language, the way she jumps off the building, you know, with the foot hanging, and it's like a free fall. And to stay in character while jumping off the second tallest building in the world is insane.
Crazy.
Like, you know, Tom Cruise has been doing this for years. It's the first time. So I think that's amazing. And I think that it really sat home because, you know, the opening colors too, you know, it's this gray blue scale, which everything's kind of like bleak and dreary. You know, she's obviously monologuing, which you find out she's talking to
The security guy.
which is amazing.
I love
Love
can I
it.
tell you?
Love it.
One of my nitpicks in film is narration, just for the sake of it, because I think it's a lazy way to get to exposition. But if you can find creative ways to give me why you're narrating, I give you all
This
the
movie had a
props.
lot of creative exposition, which I appreciated. Like, it
So
wasn't
good.
like the usual like whack stuff. So yeah, I appreciate it. I loved, you know, how it set the tone of like, this is clearly somebody who, if they're not grieving, is somebody who's stuck, you know, and you don't, and only what, a minute and a half into the movie, you're like, okay, so this is the tone.
Yeah.
We're dealing with Yelena trying to find thrills, you know, and
Purpose.
people who are depressed depressed are like that. You know, you're just looking for highs. You know, there's very high highs and extreme lows, which is also what, you know, our lovely Bob / Void / Sentry explains later. But I love that we get to see all of that. Opening scene, first 5 minutes, it's depression, it's the world is bleak, she's in sweats, she doesn't care, she's so good at her job that it no longer has meaning, she's not afraid anymore, she's predicting the movements of her assailants and her targets before they even shoot. Oh, they always go for the gun. Oh, they're gonna shoot, now they're gonna shoot, oh, he's gonna lose his, you know. I was like, damn, you know, because you realize she is that good, you know, and it has to get exhausting. Everybody gets to a point in their job, you know.
Raven, top 5 hallway fights.
Oh, definitely top 5 hallways.
That top,
the view,
that top angle when the view is going across,
shadows,
just the shadows. Oh, so good. Because, like, no, you're right. Even the fact that I think you make a good point that she's just that good. She does a good job of showcasing her skill. It's like Neo Matrix. You know, like, it's not that she's sloppy. No, everything's precise. It's she's just too good. I also read that the initial scene, she was supposed to be in her costume, but it was her idea to put her in sweats. And I think just that addition makes a huge difference. But I also think it speaks to the fact that we've been hearing a lot in the past. We've heard a lot that, you know, certain Marvel executives and Disney executives kind of control things with an iron fist, and the directors are just there for hire. But I think this is an example of showcasing that the directors and the cast had freedom in how to express these moments. And I think for Florence Pugh, I think she goes down on the list with this character as those actors that have fully embodied the character and it's theirs. I think that's what she's done
to
here.
Where they know, like, this is how they would react. I know them. I am them. You know,
exactly. And I think she's kind of jumped on that in terms of, because all I see her is Yelena. Because she's so fantastic. Like, she owns it. She's not just doing it for a Marvel paycheck. She like owns it because she's in it. And I think she's done a fantastic. And you know, it's interesting. I think she's one of the only post Endgame introduced new characters that we've really seen grow. Because we haven't really seen kind of post Endgame characters.
We haven't seen enough arc of anybody else yet. Like, it's kind of, we've seen glimpses of people.
Like, you've had Shang-Chi, but we haven't had
the growth. Seen the growth,
You know, you had all these other characters, but we haven't seen. The closest, maybe because of this movie, is John Walker, because we saw him in Falcon the Winter Soldier.
Okay,
that's probably the closest.
I guess Sam Wilson too. I guess
no, but he wasn't post. He wasn't introduced. I'm talking about introduced.
You like post. Proper introduced? No, I can't think of anyone else.
Introduced post, exactly, because Endgame wasn't that. Wasn't.
Oh, maybe Taskmaster. Sorry, I had to.
But I think I agree with you, Ray. I think that they did a fantastic job of her introduction and setting up at this anchor that even though she has problems and things like that, she has to now deal with other people's problems, right? Which is always the worst place to be. What I do like about that opening, though, was if you pay attention, and I noticed this in my second viewing, the scientist is trying to warn her about Sentry. She's like,
boom. That's what I was about to say too, because I'm like, I don't know if I come back to this later, if I talk about this now.
No, go for it. Go for it.
But in watching it the second time, I was like, holy shit, they told us the entire fucking plot. The first 2 minutes.
The shadows were right there. The shadows were literally there.
Later on, literally in that last, you know, in that sequence where Sentry, you know, or Bob is fighting the Void, when they go back to that lab, you know, the first thing Yelena says is, this place looks familiar. And when I watched it the first time, I was like, it does look familiar. Wait a minute. And I'm like, is that the place she was at in the beginning? But at that time, you don't know what the Void, you know, you don't really know what the Void can do. So you're like, huh? But in seeing it again, I was like, oh my God, it was all right there. The professor literally says, no. Valentina doesn't know what she has here. And the lady was like, life-changing stuff. World-changing stuff. He was like, no, this changes everything. She's like, it changes everything.
He's like, stop gaslighting me.
He was right. He was right.
He was literally trying.
He was literally trying. He's like, she does not understand what we have here. Like, we did it. She doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, okay.
Gets his face shut
off. Sure. Even the dude in the beginning, like even the guy in the beginning, you know, she's like wearing what is it? Even the first guy who's like taped up, he's trying to warn her too. And he realized the silhouettes in the
The
background
shadows.
Yeah.
are probably of the doctors that
Yeah.
could avoid zapped.
Like
So they
she
knew.
didn't. She didn't even look closely at that. Like,
So it's crazy to think like
What
Valentina
is
had
this?
the entire project neutralized and all of the doctors working on it before they even got to tell her the results.
Right.
What the hell, Valentina?
Right.
Like you spent all this money to get tests done and didn't wait
At
around to find
least-
out if
Well, I
it
Yeah.
guess
was
it's because
crazy.
I think because time was of the essence because she was getting investigated. So
Oh,
she's
true,
just
she
like,
was.
Yeah.
Well, no,
She's like, quick.
because think about it. It happened before she was going to be impeached, I think, or slightly before, because when Yelena showed up, Void had already killed those other two people, and they were already like sort of cleaning up what had happened. So I'm like,
Well, I
but
think
I mean, I guess she knew about the impeachment.
well, because also I think also there's a time between because they thought because Bob died. Because
Yeah.
remember, that's why he was in package.
Yeah.
So there's probably like they thought it was failure. I think maybe after the fact, the scientists maybe were like, oh shit, the data has come through that it worked. Because they thought Bob would die. That's why he was in storage. Because he was like, who is that? Who is that? Didn't he die?
Right.
Because that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
He had died.
True.
I did
Apparently,
like
Bob can't die. Also,
No.
fun fact:
in
the
the
character
comics, it's a
Bob can't die because every time Bob dies, the Void just pops up,
Just
and then
like-
they gotta kill the Void, and then
like-
when they
and
kill
then
the
it
Void,
brings-
Bob comes back.
It feels just like Legion.
Yeah.
Legion all over.
Funny
it.
enough, I had a moment where I thought Sentry was gonna be Legion when I first saw the
I feel like they were
trailers and
besties,
stuff.
all four of them. All
Definitely,
4 of them.
like-
crazy in the head.
Yeah, crazy bag of cats. I hope that we eventually see them at the same therapy session at bare minimum. Even if they don't fight and they're not friends, at some point in the MCU history, I
with-
need a sit down
with,
with Legion
with
and
what's her
Sentry.
name?
With the
What's
one
her
from
name?
Daredevil. Never remember.
Oh,
that.
and
her
the
name?
one with the hands. What's her name?
No, I remember
what's
Daredevil's
what's the
girlfriend.
actress? What's the actress from Parks and Rec? Who was in?
Oh, Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza.
Oh,
She'll
Death.
play both the death and the villain in Legion. Because wasn't she the villain in Legion?
Yeah, she was.
she's
You're
the
right.
kid.
She was the shadow person. Yeah.
Shadow King.
Shadow
So
King.
she-
Thank
I'm
you.
waiting to see Shadow King every single time that there's any type of shadow at all. I'm like, Shadow
They're
King.
just waiting. Yeah, like Mephisto.
We gotta
I
wait
mean,
for X-Men.
X-Men is coming, so
We gotta wait for
there's that.
X-Men.
I did like the scientist shot his face off, and she's like,
Oh.
"Damn, I needed that
Yeah,
face."
she's like, come on.
But she did. He was trying to tell her. Like you had to realize it.
So she had to
He
blow up the
literally
whole
tried to
building
let her
instead.
know.
Like, I love the fact that she doesn't. She's like, "Oh, whatever. I'll just blow up the whole
The
building."
building,
He
yeah.
literally said Valentina doesn't know what happened here. She's making a
But-
mistake.
But she saved the guinea pig. She did
Actually,
save
and
the
he
guinea
also
pig.
even said Sentry is not what she thinks.
Yeah, he's like Project Sentry.
Those are his exact
words.
words. He says
Yeah.
Sentry is not what she thinks. And meanwhile, she's like, let's put a cap and gown on this bad boy. He's a fucking graduate of the year, this guy.
Andrew, you
Killed it.
mentioned about the guinea pig. That's another piece of foreshadowing because the movie opens with her saving a guinea pig from a maze, and it ends with her saving a guinea pig from a mental maze.
Snap, snap, snap.
Look at that! Look at
Snap,
that!
snap, snap.
Nice foreshadowing. The Andrew, I want to go to you. The characters are all brought together, at least the core team, without Bucky in this whole situation where Valentina kind of says, "Yeah, I need you to do this mission, take this
Yeah.
person out," and she kind of plays them all. What do you think of the introduction of those other characters? We're even also come to you too with that, especially with John Walker being like, "Me,
Me? Me?
I'm not like you
like
guys."
please, guys, come on.
So bringing all those characters
Oh.
together in that one moment, what did you think of that sequence?
uh,
And who your standout introductory character in terms of introduction of a character?
So fantastic entry for all. I think just shout out Ghost. Ghost was really flexing those powers. And just damn.
And a strut. Did you see a
The
strut?
strut, yeah,
I liked her a lot
was
better
just-
in this
No,
movie. I kinda hated
significantly.
her in
I
Ant-Man.
wasn't a
They-
fan in
they-
Ant-Man, but in
Yeah,
this she
same.
actually, and I'm sorry, the homicide, like she took out Taskmaster
No
with absolutely
remorse.
no given. It wasn't even like a single like, oh yeah, nah.
That was one of the
done.
biggest shocks of the movie.
And
I think-
shout
I think-
out,
Oh,
shout out to
shit,
them.
that's it?
I didn't
It's
expect that.
Taskmaster?
I had no spoiler
No, I think
context.
shout out to them because everyone assumed she was going to die because the trailer she's barely in it.
Yeah.
Nobody saw it like that.
Like not then, like maybe
Nope.
maybe halfway through,
Nope.
maybe trying to backstab everyone, not like
By a villain.
yeah, like this is a Mexican standoff on Cinco de Mayo, right? 1v1v1.
I'm still going through it. I'm like, nah.
No,
It's
it was great, but I think
I think
Yeah.
she
not
killed
first
White
15
Tiger.
minutes.
She's the one that killed White
Oh.
Tiger because the same kind of death. It was just boom, straight
like literally those is similar.
Has she framed the cop?
And then just in that same fight though,
She could have.
the knife shot. I'm sure you just a perfect from Yelena to Ghost to Taskmaster to John back to Yelena. It was just like I
Fight
feel like,
choreography all movie long, which is
yeah, no,
that shit was
they
fire.
were cooking
This is
it, and
good-ass fight
just the whole
choreography.
time while I was going through, but I love Bob. You know, he's slowly like
Love
moving.
Bob.
He was just like, which is natural,
but
right?
thing is,
It's a fair
but
reaction.
he's kind of still interested.
Yeah,
He
he
doesn't
wasn't like
fully run.
scared. He's just
He
more
said,
like,
is she really dead? But imagine you just woke up in a box and hear somebody got shot, and then you stand up and look, and there's
with
some
the-
lady's brain splattered on the ground, and 3 people just
Yeah.
fighting to the death. You just out here in robes,
That-
just scrubs.
he's probably like, what a trip. I mean, he was a druggie, right?
Yeah, he's probably
he's
like, they
a-
give me
he-
some
he is-
good shit at that
like,
hospital.
man, what did that take?
I am
He's like,
tweaking
well, I found those
hard.
drugs I was looking for. That's some good shit.
This guy's calling himself Captain America, but he's such a dick.
Like, yeah,
I love that
the
part. But you're an
interaction was so
asshole.
funny.
You're Captain America,
which
You're an
which is
asshole.
weird, right? Because I mean, you say
Yeah,
who are
it's
my
great.
favorites. I feel like, jumping to the end, like John definitely grew on me. I wasn't. I feel like
Yes,
John.
yes.
John, fine. Yelena, I love from the start, but John and Ghost,
Yeah.
I was like, meh. And then by the end, I'm
Well,
like,
because-
all right, fine, fine.
Well, because I
You're
think
again.
their introductions left a lot to be desired
100%.
in terms of previous movies and shows.
Yeah,
So I think, and I don't think I think it's the writing. Obviously, it's clearly not the actors
Yeah.
because given better writing and better things to do, there's more depth and there's
100%.
more to do with them. I think Raven, I want to talk to you about the Taskmaster death. What I like about that death, I think a lot of people thought it's pointless. Why is that character in there? Well, for one, I mean, we know that there was a lot of changes. This movie was supposed to come out a year ago, and then things like them pivoting away from Kang and the actors and director strikes changed things. They had to pivot a lot of things. Initially, actually, John Walker was the final villain. And the idea was that he was getting manipulated by Valentina with more super soldier serum, and then he goes berserk. But then Captain America did the whole secret, berserker hulking storyline, so they had to switch it up.
Sure.
And initially, Taskmaster was in it a lot more. Her and Ghost had more of a dynamic in terms of like a sisterly dynamic because they had the same upbringing of being raised in a suit and working for the government. But what I want to say about this is that they are introduced as mercenaries, all of them, right? They are introduced as people who are just, you give me a name on the
Murder
list,
for hire.
I'll go kill him. I don't
do
ask
it.
any questions.
Yep.
I don't care, right? Even if I know you.
Yep.
That's it. That's how they're introduced. And there's a line that Yelena says afterwards, this is our life. We kill unto someone finds us and kills us. That's the life. And so I say that to say that's why I think her death was brilliant, and it was done by Ghost, not an antagonist, because it instantly showed their life and what they're worth in this moment. This is what they are worth. Raven,
Yeah.
what did you think of this intro of these characters together and the death of Taskmaster?
Well, I feel like we haven't had this good of character introductions probably since Avengers Guardian. Because we love a good group dialogue moment. So I think having a group fight be the intro to characters, and like you and I were talking about with unique exposition. I thought that it was such a good way of doing exposition, and the director of this movie actually, is it Jake Schreier?
Yeah, Jake
Schreier.
Sure.
Schreier.
Sure.
Anyway, so the director, Jake Schreier. Anyway,
Schreier.
yeah, he was talking about the fact that he wanted to make a movie to where whether you'd seen any of the movies or anything in the MCU at all, you would be able to watch this movie by itself and be able to enjoy it. And I felt like the fight scene was a perfect way to kind of fill everyone in who wasn't, who maybe doesn't know anything about the MCU universe and hasn't seen any of the shows. Because a lot of people only watch the movies and don't know about, Captain America, Winter Soldier show or any of that. So this was I thought, a really, really great way of showing And it's also true to the comics. Usually in the comic books, when you're introduced to a character, they meet, they fight, and in the fight is how you find out what their powers are, what they do, who they're working for, and what their motivations are. So I thought that this was one, not only a true comic book way of doing character introduction, but also a really great way of doing exposition. And 3, executed amazingly because the actual fights were fire, and like seeing everybody's different fight styles come together. Like, I feel like this is the first time I really, even though in Black Widow, you're made to understand that Taskmaster can mimic anyone's powers and all that other stuff. But I felt like it was done so much better in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the way she was counteracting each fight with the shield, I was like, oh, like I was
also shooting.
Every single gunshot, block. I was like,
that's what made the death even worse.
And she slid under the desk, like I was like, and then it was like dead. Oh shit.
Yeah,
but it also proves how much of a badass Ghost also is.
Like
unfortunately, like
and
you
just
said, it
ruthless
feeds into
too.
it. Yeah, shot her in the face. Didn't care. Didn't think anything about it. Never thought about her again for the rest of the movie. Not just that.
It was a case of
rest of the movie. She was just like, "Oh, is that your friend? My bad."
But it was one of those moments where Taskmaster was talking to someone. I think he was talking to Yelena, and the ghost just appears in front. Boom.
Yeah.
Doesn't even let you finish.
At all. Didn't care. And then she was like, "Boom, that was my mark. I'm done." And she was about to leave.
Yeah.
She got stuck there.
She literally.
And technically, she's the only one that actually fulfilled the mission.
Right.
You sent 4 people down there. She's the most efficient soldier that you actually sent, because she did her job and she was out.
It kind of tracks.
And did it the fastest.
Yeah. Her power is a little OP, so yeah.
Though I do like that they have limitations. You can only do it for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I thought it was
and how, because the fight was great because Yelena kept predicting her, right? So Yelena was probably the closest to catching her if anyone there would have.
Right.
Which makes sense.
But then she also only would have caught Yelena because Yelena's not her target. I love that all of them were only caught off guard by the person who wasn't their target. Because like with Yelena and good old what's his name, Walker. Yeah. She's like, "What the hell are you doing? You're not even my target." He's like, "Well, you're mine."
Yeah. He's like, "Okay."
And I love that moment too, because it's like, oh yeah, and the whole time Yelena is not trying to take him out, or anyone for that matter, until Ghost appears. And then it's like, oh, this is her target.
And it's a great way of showcasing that they kind of know each other, because it's not like, who are you? It's kind of like, wait, I'm not fighting
if you're really good at any job, like a really great Hollywood director is gonna know another Hollywood director. You didn't have to work on the same set together, but you're gonna know each other's names and know of each other.
Especially you work for the same company.
Yeah.
Right, but that's also, what I was saying by like the exposition was done so well, because not only in the fight, but you're showing off their powers, like this is what they can do. All of them work for Valentina at some point, if not at some point right now. 3, their dynamics with each other, on top of that, and how they problem solve and stuff. And then on top of that, they give each other kind of the exposition. Oh yeah, well, that's a lot coming from you. You murdered a guy in cold blood on TV, which is crazy because you think about it. He did.
Yeah, he's like,
he's not sorry.
Define innocent.
He's not sorry.
Define innocent.
But from what I remember watching the movie, maybe I'm vague on that part, but I thought the guy did do something. Did he just have the wrong guy?
No,
he
was
chased him down.
Guy,
right?
He stole some shit. He chased him down, but it wasn't the fact that he chased him down. Okay, he's a bad guy, but you don't kill him.
Yeah, well, he's murdered him.
Like you still murdered him with a shield on TV.
Sir.
The law, there's due process.
The law never changes.
Especially Captain America, of all the people.
That's valid. Yeah, and that's the thing too, not with Cap shield, bro.
Yeah,
that's
come
wild.
on, bro.
Not Cap shield.
No, that wasn't Cap shield, because you can't bend Cap shield like that, which I find hilarious, because the taco shield, he still uses it at the end. 14 months later.
But what else is he gonna use?
I just love the fact that, but I love the fact that after it was bent, he spends the rest of the movie trying to take it off, and he can't.
He keeps. I feel like he's convinced that he's eventually going to be strong enough to bend it back.
You're never going to make fetch happen. But I also feel like it further proves that the general public doesn't f with them. Because Wakanda would have sent him a shield by now. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Sure. Bucky has an arm.
Yeah.
Who is it that has a suit? made by the Wakandans.
Sam.
Falcon.
Sam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like
Yeah.
Wakanda's not helping out. It's not like they're not throwing,
But
sponsorships.
It's like,
So it's
you
been
little
14
stupid
months.
ass. I ain't fucking with you.
And it's not like the Wakandans don't know that your shield is effed up. Like they see it. So it's like the fact that nobody was like, yo man, I got you, bro. Like, we made you this special, like, they don't
still
fuck with those
touching-
B-Vengers.
Still touching on this intro, I think also, Ray, we talked about how this intro, the fight scene together, also tells a story. I also think it tells us about Valentina.
That's what I was going to say. We learn about her story too. And the assistant. We learn a lot about the assistant through everyone else's actions. And I kind of like that.
Who was initially supposed to be played by Aya.
Oh wow, she would have done well
from the bear. You can kind of see it.
But you know what? Give her a bigger role. I think.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing too.
Role. I don't want her as nobody's assistant. You're going to put Aya to be in this shit. Give her something crazy.
Her character is in the comics is a Thunderbolt.
And I want her to be a villain though. Io. I feel like she'd be a dope villain because she does so much comedy.
Well, I'm saying, but the Thunderbolts in the comics were not always good guys. They were villains because Zemo is the one that created them, and she was a villain. Thunderbolt in the comics. Her name is I think Songbird. You actually see her wearing a necklace with the Songbird logo on it.
Well, she was singing all movie. Snitch. I'm playing.
Singing like a snitch.
But what I also liked about
we needed it. It benefited us, but it doesn't change that she was snitching.
Still snitching, yeah.
You try snitching all
when
movie.
Bucky's like, here's my card. And she's like, what's that? You're trash?
You're trash?
I love showing the age gap like that. Like, I don't have a business card. Get you someone like a business card. Take my email. Take my website. I'm not saying business cards aren't important.
Yeah.
I don't hand them out to people. Right. I don't know the last time I did that. And I love that moment. But I want to go back. Raven, you mentioned how some of these movies like Avengers and Guardians, we usually see characters kind of squabbling in a fight. I think what makes this fight different is that they're actually trying to kill each other. Like, I don't think when the Avengers were bickering and stuff, they were trying to kill each other.
No, never.
No.
Even when they ganged up on
in other fights, they're trying to size each other up, whereas this, they were sent to execute.
Except for Hulk.
Yeah.
And apparently, except for Walker, everyone sent down there to die. Walker was a mistake.
Not him.
Even the
loving husband.
When Ava was like, do you not feel the temperature suddenly rising? Not feel that?
Okay, it's an incinerator.
Fine.
It's funny because I did not expect him to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, like one of my favorites in the movie. Like, it's nobody's gonna be better than Yelena, but I came into the movie loving Yelena already. Exactly. But in terms of like characters that I grew to love, he was definitely up there. I didn't expect to love him that much, but I actually enjoyed him because you're also reminded in this movie, first and foremost, he's a soldier, regardless of him not being a good cap. He was a great soldier, which got him to be selected to be a Captain America. Like, he really was a decorated soldier. Like he said, it met 2 presidents.
Yeah.
But I think...
and it saved, thousands of civilian lives. And he really is a great soldier.
Yeah.
He's just not the guy that should be calling the shots. And he shouldn't be the guy that talks.
But also, I think with his...
I'll do the talking.
But I think with his story, his kind of arc, and you get that when he kind of brags, he's like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, how many tours, blah, blah, blah. I think that's kind of his problem, right? Is the ego.
Resting on the
laurels.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
He can't help
You're not doing this, at least at the beginning, you didn't do this. You didn't become Captain America for the good reasons. You did it for the glory.
Yeah.
It was the glory and the fame, and that's what you were chasing, a lot of that. And you forgot the real reason why you do this. And even later on, we get I love
bears.
Right, exactly, and it's like you're just there to brag. Whereas I think Steve had more humility to him, right? Steve
1,000%. Steve had to. He spent most of his life on the ground, getting beat up. My boy's getting tossed.
And I think that's the difference between him and John, and that's kind of John's arc in this story. Because he was chasing the glory, he was very much that I in team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at their escape.
Right when they're escaping, he's just like, peace. He's the one
like,
that jumps.
peace.
He's the one that does it all the time. Like this
So
guy.
funny, so
Like,
But according to him, he made a tactical decision. All right, he saved himself, which would eventually result in saving the mini. Blah blah blah.
Blah, blah,
15
blah.
clicks. Blah blah blah.
He literally
Okay, we get it. You're a
almost died.
soldier.
I love
15
Ava.
clicks.
Okay,
blah, blah,
soldier
blah.
guy.
Guy.
Blah, blah, blah. I tell you, I
It's funny
loved
because I
when
thought the exact same thing in that moment. I thought to myself, 15 clicks, and then she said it, and I was dying. I was like, "Thank you." Like,
I loved
they
any
know their
moment.
audience.
Any moment that Ava and Yelena would make fun of him. Nice hat.
Yeah. No, he was like, you don't like
What do
you
you
don't like
think
the
about
hat.
it?
You don't like that. That was so funny. He was so vulnerable in
They
that
were
moment.
showing their guns, and he's like, "Yeah, I carry this gun." They're like, "Oh, that's long."
That's
He's like,
That's a long
"Yeah,
gun.
it's kind of long."
He's like, yeah.
They're like, "Well, what about your hat thingy?" Oh, you mean my helmet? Yeah,
yeah.
it's cool, right? It's pretty cool. They're like, "Do you think
Do you
it's
think
cool?"
it's cool? He's like, yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that they
Yeah.
take a moment to take the fact that they take a moment to take the guns off of the dead body of Taskmaster,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was
Oh, I
actually
love
brilliant
it.
because you never see that. He's just like,
But
yeah,
that's also
she's
that's
not
soldiers.
using it.
Yeah, like, what
And
do
he
you mean?
literally
I
said,
know
he
he
was
has
like-
good stuff.
He said she'd want me to have it. I need it.
You don't have endless bullets. Having
Right.
extra, and it's like in a video game, right?
Yeah.
In a computer game, when you see bullets and
it's
guns on the
the
floor, you
truth.
pick it up. You
That's the
don't
thing.
just
You're
leave
also
it.
reminded again. These people are soldiers. They're
Mhm.
tactical people. All they know is that somebody's trying to kill them, and they are
Or
about to
vice
have to
versa.
survive. They don't know how much gunpowder they're gonna need, what type of tools, no nothing. All you
Mhm.
know is I gotta stock up.
Yep.
So from their perspective, it's like, come on, I get it. They don't know her,
Yeah.
Right.
Even if they did.
right?
Andrew.
She'd still just be a body with ammo.
Andrew, I think, and one of my favorite post Endgame characters also is, I would say, is Alexei, the Red Guardian.
Alexei.
Oh, we always love Alexei. Though. We just love David Harbour. Has he
David
ever done
Harbour.
any wrong?
I think
He
he's
can.
another person who's completely like choose the scene with this role,
Mm.
having
He's
so much
becoming my
fun.
white Samuel L. Jackson, like where he's just in nerd shit, and I love him. I don't care what he's
Oh.
in; he's just great.
What I love about his character is that as much as he can be comic relief, he can be so much of the heart
Yeah.
because he's the one that kind of reminds Yelena, like like from the very beginning, right?
With the lights.
He jokes around, but he says to us like, I miss the glory, not necessarily glory like how John wants the glory. He's like, no, I miss saving people, my duty, doing my
Yeah.
duty, helping people out. Your
Right.
sister saw it. He's the one almost kind of pushes it, like maybe it's your turn to be in front of the limelight, to kind
Yeah.
of do the right thing, help people and save people, And every time there's a moment, kind of, they're going to be the heroes. When Bucky comes, we're going to that later. When Bucky comes in, Red Guardian's that's the one that's excited. Where it's like, we're going on a mission. Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
So Andrew, I want to ask you about Red Guardian and his arc in this story, and the kind of supporting Yelena's story in terms of being her father. right?
Yeah.
In the narrative, when she's like, "I miss
Terrible
you,
father.
Daddy."
Yeah.
I missed you, Daddy. What did you think of his story in this?
I was gonna say that we love Red Guardian, but shit, Dad. Though I mean, sorry, just
I mean, he's not really her father.
I,
He was like
I
a
know,
fake-
I know. Just for the
It's a father
position of father,
but not
figure.
even a choice by him. It was like,
But-
you, her dad,
Dad,
go.
now.
By KGB secret spy standards, he was a great dad.
Oh, for sure,
Exactly.
sure, yes, for sure in that regard. Fantastic guy, right? And I just, he's so real. Like I love when she came to his house in the beginning, and she was just like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do it. He's like, I mean, I'll do it. What the like, you
He's
ain't trying to
like,
work
yes!
there, yes, girl.
Give me a recommendation. Give me her number.
Yeah, you don't even know what you got.
Don't give
Look at
anything to work there.
Spoiled child.
I thought you were doing well.
Like,
No, I lied.
I lied. I mean, come on, girl. Look around. Like, what? It's like, don't be stupid. His limo has 95,000 miles. Please.
That's so full, so filled.
So full, so filled. Oh,
My God.
I love that
it
part.
was so good. You're right. He definitely was the heart of the movie, right? Even the scene when he found them in the desert. It's like, don't go in the vault.
Don't go.
They've already come out, sir. Like,
she's like, oh
I love
it's
it.
like, oh no, but
Him brushing his teeth with the
great
dish soap.
Oh, I've definitely said
But
ew.
I tell you,
He needs
that's
a daughter, though. It's very much
Yeah.
Or
like,
He does
you
need-
need
a
women in
wife,
your
or
life.
just a woman, some sort of woman, or self-care manual.
Like, yeah,
It's funny, right?
Yelena, they need each other.
even a moment like him using dish soap to brush his teeth, being a super soldier, that won't cause harm to him.
Right, his
which
teeth
is
are
like
gonna be fine regardless. His breath
Yeah.
probably just stinks a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, I mean,
But
I
then
love
again,
it.
all you need is antibacterial,
Yeah.
which dish soap is, so maybe he's fine.
maybe
Maybe
he's
he's
onto
doing
something
great.
as a
Maybe
super
he's figured
soldier.
it all out.
right, but it's
That's
only
so.
for super soldier.
Only Super Soldier.
Oh, and
Super Soldier
still,
need to
sorry,
brush their
he
teeth
had
with
some of
dish
my
soap.
standout scenes because I'm still listening. In the car with Bucky, and he's like, "Oh, which serum you got? Oh, Hydra, fancy,
Hydra, ooh, the good
fancy."
stuff.
Oh, fancy.
He's like, "Yeah,
No, when he's
mine wasn't too
we
bad."
can, or he's like, we're the same. We could be co-leaders.
Cool.
It's like, no, I'm the leader. No, I was just saying,
Saying.
I don't want to be.
He said, no, like, if you
Just-
don't want to drive, I'll drive. And he's like, what? No. He's like, I didn't want to drive.
No, I didn't want to.
Oh my goodness. So
I love
actually, I love every part of him. He's such a great dad, just like
Yes.
Stranger Things. Like he
His-
represented so well.
His Molotov
Right.
cocktails fail when he throws it, and he's like, yes, and then just
We
goes
were,
out.
we were
So many
screaming
of
in the
those
cinema.
moments.
It's so funny.
I felt like there was nonstop moments for the
Yeah.
fans in
Yeah.
this movie
Yeah.
of like, this is what you think this movie is.
Yeah.
This is what it is. You
Yeah.
know, there was a few moments like that to where I went from hell to
Yeah.
what? You know?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that. And Bucky even showing up was
I was going to ask you, Raven, what did you think of Bucky's Terminator style?
fucking
intro.
Winter Soldier, bitch.
Bucky!
That's the fucking Winter Soldier.
I love
And
that
the same
Yelena
way
thinks.
that
I love that
yeah.
Yelena thinks she shot the car. She's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
we all did.
She's
I thought
like-
so too. I was like, oh,
I was
shit,
like,
wow.
damn, girl.
And then all of them
that
were like in
aim.
the car, like, oh, okay, she's good. But yeah, I did love it that I loved it that Red Guardian is like, yes, the Winter Soldier, like he's fanboying like
He's
the rest
us.
of us.
So hard.
Because I'm literally screaming the
Yep.
same things he's saying, and the way that he pops up, takes out one truck, takes out another truck,
Grabs the guy's
Shotgun.
shotgun.
grabs the guy's chain, and then the punch of the
Terminator.
ground. I was like, ah. Like honestly, I've never been attracted to Sebastian Stan in my life, but
So good.
That
So good.
moment.
And he's just
Yeah.
being, and it's one of those moments where he knows he's cool.
like I almost
Yeah,
wanted to write
for
him a
sure.
letter. Like, was it as good for you as it was for me? I don't have your number, but I should call.
You'd be like, yes.
And I do like,
do that arm thing you do again.
think-
but yeah, that was oof, yeah.
I think bringing
That was
Bucky
good cinema.
from a thematic level, bringing in Bucky is perfect because I think he is basically all these people. He understands what they went through, right? He
Yeah.
was captured,
Yep.
experimented on,
Yep.
mind controlled, working for evil people, and things
Died,
like that.
came back, been there, done
You're
that.
also reminded that Bucky is an old man.
Yeah.
Like you
He is an old
completely forget like
Yeah.
the
100
moment
and
that he
something
has
years
with the
old.
assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he was like, oh yeah, when she was like, I was in high school. He's like, I was 90.
95 or something back then.
Like it's crazy. He really was 90.
Yep.
You know, you
Yep.
think about it, and you forget that technically, Bucky's been around for generations. You know, he's
Mhm.
literally seen the world change. He's had to adapt to the
Yeah.
world changing around him. He's had to adapt to being on different sides, working for somebody that he had no
Well, that's
will.
the
You
thing.
know, no will. So he's definitely the redemption story already.
Yeah.
So like you said, he definitely is the perfect person to kind of, you know, he is. He's like what Falcon was to Cap. You know, in a lot of ways. That on your left, like when Cap was going to, what is it, group therapy?
Yeah.
You know, for soldiers with PTSD. I feel like Bucky would be the one now leading
For
those
them,
group
yeah.
sessions.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Bucky is that person that's healed. That's now like, okay, let me go back and help my fellow,
Yeah.
you know, brothers. You know,
And we've
From
actually
struggle.
seen him in the TV show go through therapy.
Yeah.
He was literally going through therapy in the show. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so he's the perfect person to lead the group. But I also
Yeah,
like
my
the fact
past
that-
is great, so you know.
I
had a
do
great
like the
time.
fact that he's still kind of separate from them when they were arguing about Thunderbolts. I was like, what is that? I don't understand. He's like so confused when they're saying things.
Bob.
It's like-
Bob?
It's
Who's
like-
Bob?
He
Like
felt
what?
like a substitute teacher.
Right, exactly. Like he's the
Like-
teacher when they're all like sitting there
So-
tied up. And I loved how,
They didn't even
They're all
fight
tied
back.
up.
They're so good. Like it's because it's Bucky.
but I love how they're tied up
They
according
fell
to
in
their
line.
power,
He's
to
their
their
elder.
power levels. Because like some are just ropes, some have ropes and a metal bar.
Yeah, exactly. Because John Walker was like proper wrapped up, right? Whereas Yelena was like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like tape.
Walker and Guardian both had like metal
Yep.
like pipes as well.
Yeah.
wrapped around
It's
them.
also messed up too because you realize when Walker says it, like, come on, Bucky, I know you, and Bucky's
Okay,
like,
yeah.
look, man, I know your wife and your kid left you, bro, but like, I was like, damn. But the way he looks at Yelena, that little moment, I love all the acting
Those
is so good in
moments.
this movie because there's so many subtleties
Mhm.
and like subtle moments, and I'll say with the editing too, because it was an editing choice to show the reaction
Mhm.
of Walker, looking at Yelena when that scene was dropped.
Yeah.
But I love that moment of the reveal because throughout, like, since he dropped that line during the fight, I think we all as an audience were thinking to ourselves like, don't nobody love this man at home.
It's
He's
funny.
an asshole, and then
yeah.
sure enough,
Confirmed.
it's like, oh, his wife and kid left. You're like, oh, there
I
it is.
was
And
gonna
then you
leave this.
immediately feel bad for him. You're like, oh, Walker.
I was going to leave this till favorite moments and quotes, but this reminds me, it makes perfect sense now. Towards the end, when they're bickering, Yelena says to Ava, "You're not a hero. You're not even you're not even a good person." And then Ava's like, "Bitch." And then
Bitch.
Walker's like, "What? It's my turn." And she's like, "No,
Love that part.
you're a piece of trash. So does your family."
Jesus. He literally
I was
said.
like,
He even said it out loud.
It
Jesus.
was the fact that he said Jesus, right?
I
Oh,
was
so
like,
it's my
"Damn."
turn now? Jesus.
You're a piece of trash. So does your family.
But that's also why I love
Like,
Yelena, because she's like,
yeah.
yeah, what, you thought I was gonna back up? No,
I love
oh,
it.
was I wrong?
So it's my turn now.
Did I say something that was incorrect?
but
She really took her time on that one.
Ava's bitch was so good.
Yeah.
I just love that.
I will say
bitch.
throughout this movie, I was like, was this rated R or is this PG-13?
And they cut it down.
Because they
PG-13.
literally were on the edge of PG-13.
Oh, very much.
They said
Yeah.
bitch, they said in this movie, they said
They were
dick
they
several
were shooting
times.
people in the
They said
face every
shit
time.
Yeah.
several times. There just wasn't blood. Is that the only
Yeah.
thing that saved them
Like,
from an
yeah.
R rating?
Probably.
Like
Was blood
Disney's slowly
splatter?
having fun. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Disney is like, we are
Ooh,
pushing
okay.
this
And then
PG-13 to the
Deadpool
teeth.
gave them a lot of leeway. That's
Mhm.
why.
Yeah. 'Cause they said this, bitch. I was like, have we said bitch before in a Marvel movie? I feel like this is the first bitch. I don't
Might be,
know.
actually.
But I loved it because once again, these are the anti-heroes. They're not perfect people. If you're gonna
Mhm.
have anybody that would be slipping up and cursing in Disney, it would
It would be them.
it would be
or
the
Deadpool.
Thunderbolts.
Mhm.
And let's go to the core of the story, and I think that's Bob.
Bobby.
He was
Stop
initially,
saying Bob.
he
Okay,
was initially,
Bob.
and it's funny, Raven. You talk about subtle moments and looks and things like that. I don't know if you noticed this in subsequent viewings. There are many moments where John Walker starts to like, like the first time when he sees the case, empty case.
Yeah.
But there's a moment when Bob says, "Oh, when he kind of steps up to him and is like, 'Oh, you're an asshole.'" Walker grabs and slams him against the wall, and Walker kind of looks like, "Hey, that didn't hurt you."
Like this guy didn't shake.
Right.
Like this guy didn't really.
And his eyes also light up in that
Yeah,
moment. His
Mhm.
eyes glow. That's
And
kind
Walker
of the
just
first
like,
hint.
Yeah.
It just like
I
'cause
also
even
feel like Walker was testing him throughout. I feel like Walker knew there was something more than just him being human from the second
I
that he
mean,
popped
if
up.
you find a
And
guy
then him seeing that
downstairs in a
coffin
box-
in a room that was going to be set fire, why
Yeah.
would they just set fire to this random
Come on.
patient? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I felt like even though Walker's always going to come out as an asshole, I also think it was a tactical choice for him. I think in ways he was trying to like interrogate, or see if he could like probe at him to see if like, okay, because I know there's something under
Yeah.
the surface. If
I
I
mean,
could
there are
get this guy
benefits.
mad enough, he's going to show me what he really does or
There
who
are
he
also
really works
benefits.
for.
There are benefits to kind of always thinking about yourself. And I think he's the kind of
True.
person that he's kind of he's always covering his own ass, that he
Yeah.
has to
Right.
know what's going on because I'm not going to get in trouble for this shit.
Yeah.
True.
Valentina promised me a promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
True.
Let's go into. I was talking about
Bobby.
Bob. Initially, he was supposed to be played by Stephen Yeun, who does the voice of Invincible, who we know from Walking Dead, and actually was one of the lead characters in TV show Beef from the same director. And at the time, I was like, damn, that sucks that he can't do it anymore because of scheduling conflicts. But Lewis Pullman, wow. I think Stephen Yeun would have been good as Sentry and Void. But I think Lewis Pullman did something special with Bob, where he kind of brought this kind of like childlike innocence, but it could switch because he can sometimes stand up for himself against John Walker, but then sometimes have moments where he's just like, no, you guys can leave me. I'm not worried.
Marshmallow, yeah.
Raven, what do you think of Bob and kind of like the portrayal of mental illness and that kind of tragedy of, because sometimes people use the word mental illness and stress and all those words very loosely. I feel, I think
Yeah.
people kind of just use these words very loosely. But I think, what did you think of his portrayal of mental illnesses and things like that?
I thought it was done so well. I thought it was done in a really good way to where if you're somebody who's experienced depression firsthand or, experienced depression through others firsthand, you can definitely relate to it like beyond. And I think that for people who have never dealt with it personally, it's a good way of educating them. Because I think that, depression is kind of one extreme or the other. Sometimes I think that with depression, it's a common thing that a lot of people go through, but when you speak of it, it becomes taboo. Like sometimes like when you speak on depression that you're witnessing or that you're going through or someone else is going through, I feel like that's when it becomes oh, well, are you really depressed? How serious is it? Oh, you need to just get some fresh air. Or, oh, you need to just, whereas it's not that simple for a lot of people. And I love that this movie deals with the fact that, and a lot of times depression and trauma, and this movie dealt with trauma like no other. So where a lot of these issues that we deal with as adults, whether it be depression, anxiety, insecurity, a lot of these things stem from being a kid and childhood interactions, issues with your parents and your own family and things that happen in your household that you never quite heal from. And no matter how much older you get, and no matter how old your body might mature, there's certain things that mentally you could still be there, and you could still feel like a 15-year-old boy in your head. You could still be at the dinner table watching your mom get hit by your dad and you feel completely helpless and there's nothing you could do. And even though you're grown now and these people have moved on and maybe your parents don't even exist anymore, you still can't help but to still feel like that kid. And I feel like with Lewis Pullman and the character of Bob, I felt like it was done so well to show that you have this quote unquote adult in an adult body that's still a human child because of the things he's gone through, hasn't been able to heal from, and hasn't gotten any guidance on. I just thought it was so beautiful, and all of the scenes, like the one-on-ones with him and Yelena. I love that it was, mini therapy sessions. And to a large extent, that's the reason why group therapy is recommended for some people over, just one-to-one therapy, because sometimes people need to know that there's more than just them that goes through this. They need to know that there's other people that witness these same things, and they need to know firsthand that there's other people that have gone through this and come out on the other side okay. And Bucky is that. Yelena is working on it. Alexi was that, but is now in a rut and is stuck. So I love that you get all these different phases and all these different versions of depression, anxiety, and that even when Bob, turns into Sentry, and even when Lewis Pullman is first revealed as Sentry, he still has this moment as soon as everyone leaves the room. There's this moment of, oh, do you think the hair might have been too much? Like I love that because that didn't need to be in there, and it's such great writing. It's such
You
amazing
question
directing.
everything about yourself,
right? Because that's what an insecure person does. That's what somebody that battles
you
with
guys go without me.
image
Okay.
issues,
I'm not
right?
important.
Somebody that deals with these issues and problems with their own image. That's what they're going to think of. You put them in a spandex suit, they're thinking, "Does this tight suit make me look, whatever?" Because they're not used to being seen. So I love that we see that even as in his most hero mode, at the most superhero he could be, he is still Bob, and he still has this trauma, and he's still gonna have to deal with it at some point, or the void is gonna take over, which is what happens.
Or they overcompensate, right? Where you either go from I'm not good enough to I'm a god.
He's like, if I'm stronger than
then he went to egotistical.
Yeah, and
I
love
don't
that.
Need you at all. Right,
exactly.
Right.
That kind of
And it's
overcompensating
extremes.
for it. Andrew, I want to come to you also about Bob. Raven mentioned about his dynamic with Yelena, and I think she is the kind of person that anchors him because she understands, right? Even before she knows he has powers, she's always the one like, oh, we have to take care of this guy, make sure he's okay. She's someone who one of her powers, even her dad says it later on. Why did you want to be a goalkeeper? Because I want to be the one that can save people when they make a mistake. that I can rely on. Yeah,
Just shed a
and
tear.
just
A little
I
gold.
love
That whole
that.
scene had me emotional.
Yeah.
It just even when she
Daddy, I'm
says,
so
"Oh,"
alone. I was like,
I love that she calls him daddy, and I love that moment because even when she says, "Okay, fine, that was a good speech," I was like, "Yes, it fucking was.
It was a good
Yes,
speech.
it was."
It was a pretty good speech. Good job, Daddy.
It was.
I was there with
Okay,
you.
that was
So
really good.
one of the themes, Andrew, I'm coming to you with this. One of the themes it deals with, perfectly this film was a lot of times when people that don't understand this, they think, "Oh, I'll get over the depression. I'll get over these things. I'll get over these things." And I think this movie does a good job of saying that you don't get over it. You just get help dealing with it. What did you think of Yelena's kind of dynamic with Bob to help him deal with it, remind him that? Because I think one of the best moments that showcases that is when they're trying to climb up the shaft, right? You can't take yourself out of the hole.
Yeah.
You need people to come out of the hole with.
Yeah.
What did you think of that theme?
And even that climbing, I don't know how they all, like, how did they think Bob, this regular human, was climbing up 1 mile of wall, right? Just they're all unserious, but whatever. I guess
Someone has a hard butt. No, that's my suit. Well, you need a better
Right, the
suit.
I'm sorry
It's
that I
like-
needed to make a suit to bind my body together. Yelena said, "Don't you start that childhood trauma with me. Excuse me, slave child assassin."
Again, great
Like,
exposition.
yeah.
That's how you do exposition.
It's so good.
You're right, but it's
It was
funny.
such
You just
good
said
ways
band
to show
together,
exposition.
right? I love when,
But-
because in the beginning, remember, Yelena literally tied herself to Bob when they were fighting, right?
Mhm.
And at the
That
end,
was
they were
awesome.
also bound together in the void, right? Which I guess was just a thematic thing of, I feel like that's what's going forward now, right? Like she's how Black Widow used to calm down Hulk, kind of, right? It's like these sisters have this whole calming effect for overpowered monsters.
Sun's getting low. They taught them
Yeah,
the
right.
sun's getting low.
Their
Lullaby
empathy.
in the red room.
Right,
All
yeah,
the girls must know it.
exactly. They relate with monsters. It's almost like they see themselves as these monsters, right? And it's
Right.
like, oh, I feel seen and I see you. come,
Right.
come
Imagine
for a
that's
hug.
part of that's a
But I think-
course in the
No, but
red
that-
room is taming monsters.
Taming,
No, but that's the
taming
thing.
the inner
No.
you.
Raven,
101.
you kind of made the great point, and I think it plays
Yeah.
with that. Part of the Red Room training is not necessarily taming monsters, but it's learning how to connect with people.
True, to manipulate them.
Because
True.
again, that flashback with that girl she has killed,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, her friend, and it's like,
Oh,
shut
we
first
got out
mission.
so
Psych.
far.
So it's I think it's more like
I'm like, see,
taking
that's why I don't go in deep woods with people.
right. I think it's taking
Exactly.
things that were weaponized
Mhm.
and they were kind of flipping it for good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that empathy and connecting with people, because I think that's a thing that the Black Widow program didn't account for. Because you have to also remember that ever since Natasha left, the Black Widows were all mind controlled.
Yeah.
Right.
Never
So
again.
there's that element
Yeah.
on top of that. Right. So I think understanding and having that empathy comes with being awoken again.
Mhm.
And at least on a certain level, to someone who's experienced something similar to you.
Yeah.
What I liked is the resolution of all that. Going into I think what this movie does a good job of. Everything's there for a purpose narratively. Right, the fact that the villain's the void is so
Yeah.
perfect
Mhm.
because it's like the void that we all feel, the
Mhm.
void that we all kind of get sucked down. There's even a
You
moment
just
where
you
John
bury
Walker,
it.
you're right.
She said buried.
That's
She said,
what the
"Oops."
void is. It's
Yep.
buried,
Right.
repressed emotions and feelings
Yeah,
and
but
memories.
also you feeling like literal nothing. I am
Mhm.
nothing. I
Mhm.
am
Yep.
a void. I am
Feeling
nothing. I am
nothing
darkness.
matters.
I don't matter. And then also me telling myself that is the void telling me that,
Mhm.
right? Because
Literally.
he's doing a lot of talking to
We
himself.
all got a
and then-
little
Okay.
void in us.
But I think what they do a good job of, and I'm asking you both here in terms of the final resolution of it all, is typical superhero movie. That's the evil villain. I'm going to beat him to death. What I love is that it showcases that you cannot fight trauma with anger. You cannot fight these things.
You can't
with
defeat
pain.
it with anger.
Yeah.
No, because it just turns you into it. And I loved how you see him slowly becoming dark until Yelena's
Right.
just pushing through, and then gives him the hug. Raven,
Yeah.
did you think we could top off the dance off to save the universe?
No, because we had the hug to save New York.
Did you?
Now we got the hug to save New York. No, and I think to what you were saying too, I think that the whole point of this movie was that, you know, that you don't have to be super to be super, you know? And I think that like the original Avengers could have never resolved this issue the same way.
No,
If
no.
our Avengers would have solved this issue, it would have been with physical force. They probably would have thrown him in jail, you know,
Maybe
and
Cap.
he still
Or,
would have
or,
never
Just
actually.
maybe
He
Cap.
probably
Cap.
just he
Cap. I'm
might
wondering.
die.
Cap. I feel like
or,
would
He
be
also
like,
might have
oh, this
just
guy
been
needs a
killed,
hug.
or I feel like he would
or
have been
gone for
in.
the neck, gone for the head. Thor
No,
might have
that's
this
Yeah,
Thor.
time gone for the head.
that's what
Oh,
I'm
for
saying. He might have
sure.
actually gone for the head this time.
This
Because
time
think
he would have
about
gone
it,
for.
For sure.
he's as strong, if not stronger, than Thanos. You know, so it's like when you really think about it, our Avengers would have fought it out, you know, and
Yeah.
only the new Avengers could have defeated this villain because the ultimate weapon was it was
But I also
compassion,
think
I mean,
you know,
yeah.
I
compassion
also think
and
what helps these new Avengers, because they're not powerful,
right. They
Mhm.
can't
they
just
have to
shoot
think
their
of
way
other
out.
ways.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
Right.
that, and don't forget. I mean, they did get their asses whooped first. I mean,
they
we're going to
literally
talk
run
about the
away.
fight.
They
They
literally
literally
packed
ran
it
away.
up.
Literally,
They packed it up.
Alexi got thrown.
They said, "Ooh, time to go."
I just said
Grab
Alexi
Bucky's arm. Grab Bucky's arm.
right in the elevator. I said Alexi got thrown
When he
out
gets
of the window
outside,
and
grab my
pulled
arm
back.
back.
Like, no,
You ever
Can
get beat
they
up
learned
with
the
your
hard way.
friends? It's very much that.
by your own arm.
Like,
Stop hitting yourself.
Or your
like,
own stuff when somebody grabs your shit, be like, stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. But damn, you literally hitting yourself. You got hit with your own arm. You got the shit beat out of you.
No,
And then
I
got it
agree.
tossed at you.
I agree. I think the
Damn.
Avengers, this one, it would have been a different kind of mission and a different kind of focus. And also, what I liked about this, in terms of Andrew, I want to talk to you as well about this. Actually, no, Andrew, you tell me. What are your thoughts on Bob and the Void as the
yeah.
antagonist?
And in the Avengers' fairness, right? Their job description is to avenge.
True.
And anybody say the solvers, so put those to the side. Bob, he was great, right? Like,
They're not the therapist.
I think I told you guys in the group chat. Like, I feel like there was moments right when he became, Sentry with the gold suit and hair. I was just like, oh, Homelander, the boys would love this guy, right? I feel like they would be best friends, so they hate each other, right? He was giving off all the narcissistic
Like,
vibes.
he'd be perfect for Void.
Yeah, Void.
It's right. Wow, it sounds weird, right? But and then his
Vought.
Voss. Thank you.
Vaught,
That's
there
it.
it
I was like,
is.
boy,
I was like, Vaughn,
boy.
it's driving me crazy.
Boy.
Vice.
But it's funny because
Vought.
I don't know why people always do this. I don't know why humans always think they can control superpowered beings, right? But I
That's
love
our
that.
hubris.
He had the exact thought pattern. He's like, wait, you're telling me I'm stronger than the Avengers and the gods? But you're not even God, you lady. So I love
Kill them.
seeing his
But why? They're
process,
not a
but
threat.
then like literally that's a complete waste of time, so I enjoyed everything that he gave because I guess you realize after you watch the movie that he obviously knew more than he was letting on at first, right? Because I wasn't sure how much he remembered or was aware of the process. He remembered everything, right? Like he knew exactly what was
Well,
going on,
yes and no.
more or less.
Well, because with him,
Yeah.
Bob, Sentry, and Void are three personalities.
Yes, correct.
So it's like he doesn't remember what the other did. He just know they did
But
something.
he knew that he was not alone in this body.
Yes. He
Right.
knows that. He knows there's
And
something.
acting super coy, but I just love seeing, like I said, I think he did a great acting job. I think you mentioned Raven because everything that he was meant to give, he gave as Bob, as Sentry, even as Void. And sorry, can I just say this is kind of bad, but like the only problem with Void is there's going to be too many blackface at Halloween.
Halloween.
Some people in black
gonna-
play.
gonna
I'm
be a
beating
lot-
ass. I don't care who you're supposed to be.
Can I
gonna be
tell
a
you
lot of
that
I'm
shade.
throwing
that
punches. Yeah.
that Void visual effect was absolutely
it was-
fantastic.
Okay, I was gonna say
You know,
that. I was gonna say
I kept looking at the edge of him,
I
like,
literally have, like, I'm like, I don't know when we're talking about the
yeah,
visuals.
like, tell me about the light. Does it
But I
keep?
absolutely love
it
the
was just-
visuals.
except for the pin eyes.
And we
just
didn't talk about the moment of the first fucking disappearance. And that little girl with that first boom, that was like a Thanos moment for
I
me.
was
And
like-
that was the first time I felt like that in
Should've-
years watching one of these movies.
I
literally
was-
said, oh
It-
shit. It was just
I
quiet.
think-
All
I
you
think
heard
it
was
was this-
gasp
It was
in my
the
theater.
sound.
Huh?
Yeah, it was the sound with the just.
Boom. And like, but okay, flawless execution. First of all,
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
visuals
it
done
was.
perfectly?
Yep,
Like the
I was
like
reading about
shadow
that.
dust effect,
They're like
and then
1.5
also the like
framing.
sound effect, the doom. You know, like it's just so subtle, but it felt so like it was a perfect sound of like a thud, but like emptiness. And
I
as
think,
people start disappearing, the sound
yeah,
of the echoing off the buildings, like,
yeah,
oh, the
yep,
sound design was so good. I was
yep.
just like geeking out during that moment, even though everybody's dying or
No,
seemingly so.
yeah,
I was just sitting there like, wow, this is
yeah.
so cool.
No, because saying they had no time to
So
react,
well.
right? It was the instantaneousness of it all, too, right? And the
Yeah.
fact that it was
I feel like the
always,
second act of the
like
movie was
that
just
way.
throwing punches. Like the
Yeah.
whole second act, like I feel like the movie gets to a point where once it
Mm,
starts picking up momentum, like it just never slows down
yeah.
again. And I kind of love that, you know,
Well,
like
it's
because in the
from
beginning you're like, what's this gonna be?
Yeah.
What's
well,
this movie about? After
I
like
think it's
30
from the
minutes,
moment.
it's like, what? This is fun.
Well, I think from the moment when Red Guardian and Bucky are in the truck, and he's like, "So what's the plan?" And then Bucky's like, "Crash into the
That
building.
was
Let's
great.
go."
Guys, I left the door unlocked.
Don't like.
I just got that wall replastered. I love the
I
door.
just got that drywall.
It's so
Oh,
good.
it's so good. Because I was dying because I'm like, yo, that's so true.
She's
Like,
like, can you
and that's
just
like
come
the
up? I
third
left the door
time.
open. Like, the hell?
That's at
Right.
least the
Like,
third time in the movie that you
like,
realize like Bucky's not cut out to be a congressman,
well, he's
bro.
not
Like,
Steve, but
Yeah.
he's also not
yeah.
like
But
Steve
then
was the
he's not.
strategist.
Yeah,
Because
he's
what was
not
the
this
guy's
either.
name? Who's the other congressman that
Oh, played by
the
Wendell
one that
Pierce.
was impeaching? Yeah, Wendell Pierce. But I don't know what his
I forget
character's
his
name
name.
was. But I love Wendell Pierce.
When he's like,
It's
when
But
so.
he's like,
I love
what,
their
what,
dynamic
when he's
between
like,
him and
what?
Valentina.
Yep.
And like when
Turn around,
Bucky
smile,
pulls him
smile.
aside, right. But when he pulls when Bucky pulls him aside and he's like,
There's no
"Hey
cameras
man, there's no cameras on the side." He's like, "I don't know what you guys
He's
do, but you
like
could have
the
sent this in a
what?
text,
Yeah.
send it in an email like a normal
Like.
person."
Bucky's all
He
like,
said, "We got a nice juicy packet." He said a packet.
he's like,
He
what?
did.
He said the same people that go at lunch at 4 every day.
Bucky's like, please.
Read the packet, Bucky.
Please.
I love Bucky.
love
Bucky's
that.
all
The
like,
packet.
camera blind spots.
But the thing that I thought about too, I realized in the second watch, I think Bucky grabbed him with his like metal arm.
Yeah, he pulls him. He's like, "Oh,
not
Bucky."
He's probably
aggressively,
like, sir. Sir.
Force
He's like,
is crazy.
"Oh."
He probably all bruised and shit.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he's like, "There's no cameras here." Like, what? Just send it in an email. He's like, "You could have texted me." And I just love that moment because as the audience member, I didn't find anything wrong with Bucky pulling him aside until it was pointed out. Where he's
Same.
like,
It's
"You
not
could have sent
normal.
me a text," and I was like, "Oh yeah, he could have just sent
This
a
is
text."
this is true.
Like
He
it's
really
not a
doesn't have to
secret.
avoid
Like, what are you doing?
cameras or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, like it was kind of weird. But
Oh my
there's
goodness.
several times, like even him trying to read the packet and getting the stain on the packet, and eating the food and then putting his arm in a dishwasher. Like,
Yeah.
I just love these things because he's just not set for regular people life.
He's
Like him
not.
trying to
He's
acclimate.
uncomfortable when they ask him
Yeah.
senator questions. Like,
1000%. He literally said,
What was the word
he
he
said,
said? Vaguely?
worrying. He's
Worrying.
like, yeah,
Worrying.
everyone's
Worrying.
worrying, and they're trying to keep people from worrying.
Worrying.
And it's a worrying issue right
Issue.
now that we're addressing. People
And when
worrying.
Valentina was just like, you've only done for half a term. Like that's
Yeah, zinc.
Yeah, because that's my thing. I'm like, did he just straight up
Like,
step down? Like
yeah.
when he came back and started shooting at everybody? I'm
Yeah,
like, he's
he-
no longer a congressman.
I'm
right?
gonna say yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that's an unofficial.
I assume so.
An
I was like,
official
did Bucky step down? Or?
step
But
down.
if he didn't, the crazy things happening in the real world, that's not crazy writing. So
You can go off and be a part-time vigilante while being a congressman. It's fine.
Maybe that's what he
Andrew-
won on.
It's
Andrew,
mercenary.
I want to talk to you. Raven spoke about the opening fight scene with the team. I want to talk to you about the fight scene. We talked about it briefly, but the fight scene with the team versus Sentry. What I do want to say is, I don't care. I would die on this hill, even though you didn't like some people didn't like the movie. Between Eternals and this, Marvel does super speed so well.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you agree,
Yes.
and why?
No, they 200% do, and the why is this movie? It's just like as much as like, I'm not going to talk about the Flash movie. There's no point. About to spoil the air unnecessarily. But it was just fantastic.
What's that smell?
In that exact fight, it's the speed.
It's that
It's the Justice League evil Superman with the shirtless fight echoes, but then for me it was when he threw Alexei out and brought him back in. Like I don't know if you ever watched like Ip Man and that whole like punch you but not like punch you. He's like he displayed so many
One
ways
inch
in
punch.
which I literally would like he cooked Bucky's arm for peace sake. He literally cooked it a little bit then removed it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
Even
such a
Yelena jumping on
disparate-
his back, it was like, oh. It was like
He's
when a
like-
little sister jumps on your
he's
back like a
like-
little kid and you like dust them off. They're like a
Yeah,
toddler.
like,
Alexei
so cute.
stabbed him until the knife broke.
But which
He's like,
and again, as Alexei has super serum. This is not
Right.
like a regular,
True. I had
and
to keep being
and the good
reminded.
one.
so does Bucky, punching him all the time.
And that shit looked
Like,
cute. I
I
was
remember
like, oh,
Bucky. Bucky gave us his little knife move. It was like,
Right? Yeah, he does the knife thing.
He
like
did.
what?
And it didn't matter
Like,
at all.
sir?
Nothing mattered.
Oh,
What is
he didn't
this
even get
meant
his
to
licks
do?
in.
Not at all. So no, I love the part just for showing. I think you said it, Raven, right? The whole idea of that you can't even beat depression or anger with anger. You can't. There's some
Right.
things where it's like those. What is that thing from Dexter's Lab? The Chinese, is it
Oh,
Chinese?
the finger trap.
The finger trap,
traps.
exactly,
Finger trap,
right?
yeah.
It's almost like that kind of scenario where it's like, listen,
Like you have
yo,
to calm down or your
stop.
finger's not gonna come out.
Yeah, get back in that elevator, go back downstairs, and rethink your
Retreat.
strategy.
The way they scurry to that elevator.
Again,
I
the
was
fact that
crying.
Bucky was knocked out, Red Guardian had to pick him up.
Yeah,
Like-
no, you're right. Like,
It's awesome over the
this is
shoulder.
Bucky
And someone else had to grab the arm.
and
Drag it out.
he watched it.
go.
He
You
watched
realize
them
the arm
leave.
is heavy.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
so embarrassing.
Oh, cleat them up bad.
but
It's
just
like when
a-
a bunch of
just a
people
great
try to
scene.
face the school bully and still get washed. It's like y'all
Right.
tried to stand
and
up
then
for yourself.
and then just in closing is that and then just going from that to when the system blew his head, the beginning scene of the void appearing was just like the shadows. It definitely like was a very like, yo, okay, y'all need to figure this out. This isn't okay.
What I liked
Stupid
about
ass
that,
Valentina. Hubris
Right.
again. You just thought
Right.
you was gonna kill Switch and walk away. You
Right.
could kill the man, but you can't kill the void.
No, you cannot. And I did like going
You
back
can't
to the
kill
void.
nothing.
What I thought was great about the void, kind of like voiding people. One, imagine you were both snapped and voided. Like, damn, you must be like, God damn it, because it's
I'm
New York.
leaving this city.
No, but you can't even leave the city because it's like it's more than the city.
Leaving the
It's
city.
like a
Yeah,
worldwide
Because
thing.
first
This
of
was
all,
like
there was
earthwide.
aliens. There was aliens.
Yeah.
No, if you
And-
lived in New York, you also had to deal with the aliens in the Battle of New York.
And you
Your
probably have to deal
car,
with
your apartment got destroyed.
And rats
and-
in the city. Shit.
The-
And the rats
the-
going rampant.
and the Daredevil
Yeah.
blackout.
And then you
Was it-
got zapped. You got
there was a
zapped
Daredevil
after.
blackout,
And
remember?
then it's the Daredevil blackout. And then you got sent into your existential crisis permanently.
Like,
Seemingly permanently.
So I
While
know
being
that-
at work, which is probably
Right.
somewhere you didn't want to be in the first place. You didn't want to go to work that day.
No.
Then
I
you
feel
at
sorry
work.
for New Yorkers.
You had to deal with one of the worst days of your life while at your desk.
But sorry, I have
But
a
I-
question about
Go
that
on.
about this voiding because you mentioned it. If when you get unvoided, do you return to the exact position you were when you were voided? I asked this because of the
I
guy
think
the
so.
guy that was in the helicopter. Because the helicopter crashed. So when he's unvoided, is he
He's
just
zapping the air.
appear in the sky?
Ah!
This is true. No, I
You just
go
see people
one
falling
further.
to their death that used to be in
Go further.
airplanes.
I go further, Andrew.
Yeah.
What about those doctors that got voided when he was experimented on? How long have they been in the void?
Right.
Because they're
And-
alive.
and the
Okay,
building-
literally,
the building was
I
imploded
was
too.
saving that as my like ending thoughts because in the second watch, I thought to myself, I was like, wait, so if people could come back from the void, how long has those doctors been in the void
Yeah.
from the first like scene?
Especially
Because y'all didn't even know that the void existed for a couple weeks.
and
at
it's not like
least.
the snap, right? Because the snap is like
just
you were
stuck in
you were
there.
gone.
reliving
right?
your worst memories.
Yeah,
for
exactly. It's
weeks.
like a good old but fam.
The thing
Might be
is,
longer
they
than
didn't
that.
even know to come look for the doctors, though. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? That's the worst thing about it too, is that they
Oh.
had no idea.
Poor
And
guys.
there was no mission set out
Nope.
to find them.
Nope.
Which
If
I
it
did
wasn't
like.
for the Thunderbolts, they would have still been in the void.
Yeah.
Like,
Raven,
what
you
is their
touched on a
life
good-
like now?
You touched on a great point, and I think that's what makes you always have that moment of when did they become a team? Like when did this group become a team? I think they became a team when they all made the decision to
They-
go into the void. Because I
Wait
think
to
that
follow
when-
her, yeah.
Yeah, to follow her into the void because
Elena going into the void was another ocean.
Oh, so
that
dope.
was crazy.
it was so
Because
good.
we're
Because
all, as the audience, like, wait. Because I'm like, I don't think she's suicidal. But me as an audience,
That's
I was
the
like, I feel
thing.
like she's going in there to talk to him.
Mhm.
But
that's
to
the
her
thing is-
team, it definitely looks like she's
Yeah.
suicidal.
Mhm.
And the team is arguing like, why? You know,
Right.
you had Ava who's like, we should follow, and the others like, yeah, but what if she's going to die? Blah blah. Blah. So then when Ava comes, it makes sense. But then you see the others come. You're like,
And
oh
Ava's the
shit,
one who's not even a good person.
all right.
Yeah, right.
And just even like
So
protecting
for
each
her,
other from the things flying around. And again, I just
Yeah.
love how it just goes into that hug. But going
Care
back again,
Bears.
what I think, you know, I think on paper, if someone was to tell you that the resolution is through a hug, it sounds corny.
I would have
sounds
been like
so
BS
corny.
because I mean, we were all
It
like, how
sounds
are they
But
gonna
so
this
defeat it?
also feeds into great directing and amazing acting.
Yes.
Because the acting sold it so well. Like I
Mhm.
was so choked up in that scene because I feel like I don't
It's
know.
so powerful.
Like we all have a group of friends to where you've had a absolute trash day, and even if it wasn't a literal hug, there's a feeling, that feeling of the embrace of
Mhm.
people who fucking get you. There's
Yeah.
nothing like it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like to have that moment done so well on screen, you know. I think shown visually, it was just so like, yeah, sometimes you just need a good hug, man. You
Again,
know,
foreshadowing.
I mean, he definitely killed people though, so y'all should like keep him locked up for sure, because people actually died, like for
So,
sure.
thing.
Foreshadowing
know.
again. They had to hug to come out of the hole. You know, you have to hug
You
to
think
come out.
Spider-Man got voided?
Well,
Daredevil?
again, well, either they got voided or they were like, "What the fuck's going on?" You know, it's one of those things where New York is big enough that the events didn't happen for long enough for them to kind of realize what actually
The
happened.
thing is,
'Cause
though,
you've-
it happened in
It was-
Midtown, so I'm like, Hell's Kitchen's right there.
yeah,
Hell's Kitchen
no,
in
no,
Midtown
I'm saying,
is
I'm saying is even if they did
Yeah.
know what's happening, even if they were aware, from their perspective, it was like 20 minutes, and it's like
It was
what's going
resolved
on?
so quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder for like regular people if it was just a bad dream, and then
Yeah.
everybody goes to work the next day and they're like, "Oh, you had that
That's the
dream too?"
thing. Yeah, that's the other side.
Like
of
if
it.
it wasn't for things being physically destroyed, I don't think
Yeah.
anybody would know.
You would
I
know
think
what
I think it would be a weird like blip moment, but like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it would be more of a "you felt that" than like a
Yeah. You
Mhm.
"oh
too.
shit,"
It's
you know.
crazy.
But buildings and shit were destroyed,
because
so
yeah,
it
because
must have been
you're not
interesting to
seeing
wake
like
up to.
it's not an alien invasion coming in.
But I
you know?
also
It's
like
your
one of
own
my
memory.
one of my biggest complaints about a lot of superhero movies that really, really pisses me off, movies specifically, not the comics, but comic book movies, we'll see a lot of destruction just for the sake of, like, I feel like we got this budget approved, so we're just going to destroy everything, like CG wise. And I feel like for me, a hero would never allow an entire city to get destroyed during a boss battle. Like a true
Superman.
hero, it's right. But that's the thing. In the comics, I'm pretty sure Superman, you know, flies out of the city and fights like over the water or like, you know, over the bay or some shit. I don't know if it's the truth because I don't read Superman comics, but I feel like, you know, the true heroes are the ones who don't want a lot of casualties, and usually they kind of deal with that in the comics, like, you know, let's control the situation, or let's throw the explosion across, you know, the Hudson or whatever. And I feel like in a lot of movies, the heroes almost have like zero concern for like human life or like property damage.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes in the movies where you're like, if this person was really a good person, I mean, granted they're fighting a big alien, but I don't think that they would throw a car through a building
Yeah.
trying to hit a bad guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that they would destroy an entire building to get one guy inside when
it's Hulk.
there's 1,000 people in the building.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Other than
And it's
Hulk.
like, right, yeah, unless you're Hulk. Right, but Hulk is in an insane mind, so that's valid, you know? I like that this movie, when there was debris falling and when things are getting destroyed, you actually see the Thunderbolts rescuing people
Yeah.
again. I'm like,
Wait.
yeah,
You're having superheroing? What?
right.
The new Avengers.
Right.
What a
That's
novel
what I'm
idea.
saying.
Mhm.
Like, I had that moment of like, I haven't seen a
Well, I think
superhero in a minute.
Well, I think because again,
You
the
know?
stakes have become so big with everything else that
Right.
they're saving the world, but indirectly, right? It's not
Right.
you're
They're
not you're
saving the
not
world.
yeah
And
you're
it's
not
so
you're not
worldly
saving
that you're not
people.
thinking about the day-to-day people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I like that we got to see like people taking a
One-on-one.
fucking train right now would be affected. Somebody
Yeah.
just walking down the block would be affected by a sign falling off a building, you know, or a
Dude,
scaffolding
that
falling.
massive piece of road where they have to like hold it up. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that
And you
sequence.
also reminded in
Like
that moment
Yelena,
because
get
it
away
took the
from
whole
there.
team to flip it.
It did not take
to flip
Yelena
that
to do
thing.
nothing. Sorry.
Right.
Like, girl.
It took two super soldiers,
Girl, get
a
the hell out of there.
phaser.
You're blocking the way.
Right. But she was saying, you know, she put that effort in. But I also laughed because a part of me thought too, I'm like, imagine there was people on the other side.
That's what my wife said. She
They
was like, did
flipped it
they
over
check?
and there was people on that side.
if this was the boys, you know that happened.
Yeah, definitely. You push it and just splat and there's mad blood everywhere. But yeah, I love that we got to see like these are the heroes that are saving the everyday person. There's people in space defending us. There's people across galaxies, people in different realms defending us. We
Timelines,
got defenders
everything.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But these are people that defend us on the ground, on the street level, from regular super shit, not like extraterrestrial.
Before we continue talking about
They
what
are
we
the
love,
Bevengers, unfortunately.
well, before we start talking about continue to talk about what we loved, I want to kind of take a moment to talk about anything that we didn't like, because I don't want to end it obviously on the negative.
Yeah.
For me, again, it's not a perfect movie. I think for me, my nitpick, and this is very nitpicky, is, and I understand why it wasn't there, and I also understand that some things were changed because real world issues, right? You know, Kang was supposed to be a setup for this. He was supposed to do other things, and things had to shift. So I understand all of that, but I still wish, I wish we had more with Ava. She doesn't get a void moment. Even Bucky doesn't really get a void moment. I wish we saw each individual person's like void. I understand that it might have messed with the pacing because you kind of slow things down, but I kind of wish I saw more of that. That's kind of like my main nitpick. What any nitpicks that you guys had or agree with me?
I think Ghost in general gets like not a bad rep, but we don't get to see enough of her. Like I didn't like her really at all in Ant-Man. I kind of hated her.
It's
and
because
I
I
felt
like
the
her
actress was trash in Ant-Man. Like I blame the actress. I was like, Hannah John came in as trash. Like I was like, she's not selling it for me. And I just thought it was like corny acting. I don't know how to explain it. But in this, I don't know if they gave her more to do or if she got more into her role in this.
Or both.
But this, it no longer felt like this woman is acting. You know, it felt like
more natural.
It felt like she is Ghost. You know, like I was able to take it out of like this is a person playing a character. Like in this, it felt like, okay, you know, Hannah John Kamen is actually Ava Star in this movie. But like you said, I felt like I would have loved to see more of her story. I would have loved to see an interaction with her and Valentina. I don't think we see her interact with Valentina at all until maybe that last scene. But you know, everyone else had a phone call with Valentina, a physical moment with Valentina, where you kind of understand the interaction. Like, David
or at least they've
Harbour's
interacted in previous movies.
Right. Everyone dealt with her in some way, whereas like technically, Ghost is the only person we don't know the backstory with Valentina with. Like everyone else we watched get recruited. You know, so like we kind of know their backstory. Whereas like, I agree with you with Ghost's backstory, and then I think everybody, I don't know, but I was definitely kind of sad that Taskmaster died as early as she did because I feel like I just grew to love her. Like the second that I was like, damn, she's a badass, it was like ripped away from me like a second later. It's like that. I was like, oh, but that's on some like, that was purposeful, I guess. But it did. Again, I think make me feel like.
But I think you and our issues come down to the fact that they made us.
I think you just love the character so much.
Exactly, they're successful.
Which is a great thing. It's like it's a good point to have. That like I love this character so much. I wanted more of them.
Yeah. Andrew, any nitpicks that you had before we keep going?
Not really. I think you guys kind of touched on it. If anything, for me, slice of more character is interacting in general. I feel like I wanted Sam Wilson to make an appearance. That's just a separate thing. I know we mentioned him.
Than just a name drop.
It's just like I love him and Bucky's friendship, and I just I wanted to see at least a little scene of like, Bucky, what the hell are you doing, man?
You're like Bucky showed up in his movie. Why can't you show up in Bucky's movie?
Exactly, right?
Show up for your bestie. But maybe they're not friends no more. If that little end credit scene, he said he talked to him and he won't budge.
Yeah, like or even like the phone call of just seeing Sam being like, oh hell no, right? And the calls again nitpicking obviously.
What are you doing, Bucky? What are you doing?
So that would have been good. And yeah, I mean that.
Yo, Buck, man, you're not a congressman anymore. What the fuck?
All right, let's go into it. We start talking about it. Let's go into it. One of the things I like about this movie, and I think it does a fantastic job. One of the many things in terms of overall comic book story. I think a lot of comic book stories, even some of the good ones, fall into the trap of let's spend a lot of time setting up what's coming next. At the sacrifice of what's happening. I didn't even care what
came after this movie. It was so damn good. I was like, I don't need to end credits. Chill.
But that's the thing.
This was cool.
I think this, like some of the best Marvel movies, gave us both,
Yeah.
right? Where
Mhm,
it's
Y-
focused on
You're
this movie at
happy.
hand,
You're happy.
but a
Agreed.
lot of what this movie informs what comes next. I say that to say,
Yeah.
and I think I said this in the intro, this is one of the few times where I'm like legit excited for like, oh my god, this is what's happening next, as
Yeah.
opposed
Right.
to because even in the Infinity Saga, right? We knew what was happening, we just didn't know how. We know that's leading to
Mm.
this and leading to
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of recent Marvel, it's like it's going to something, but should I? I don't know if I should be excited because I don't know what's
Marvel got
going on.
murky, man. The
Yeah.
last like 10 situations kind of ended the same
Yeah.
too. So you're like, so whose multi-dimensional thing are we gonna deal with first? Or is
And we're at
everybody
the writing
experiencing the
scrolls.
same shit at the same time? But
Mhm.
because they're in their universe, it was a different incurring incident.
Yeah.
You know, because every movie ended with some type of the timelines are screwed.
Yeah. Timeline's confusing.
Timelines, blah. So I'm like,
Kang, damn
okay,
you.
but right, so I'm like, so Spider-Man, the timelines got confused in the end. The timelines got confused in
Doctor Strange.
Loki.
Oh,
Right. It also
damn
got
it.
confused in there's something else recently where the timeline was
Captain
fucked up.
Marvel? No? Miss Marvel? What happened there?
No,
Did
no,
something happen?
Maybe.
What happened to those
no,
ladies? I don't remember.
Maybe.
No. There's
But then
something
shit.
something
No, and
happened
the
there.
Marvel's homegirl went to another dimension.
yeah.
Rambo, Monica
Rambo
Rambo.
and X-Men, it's
Yeah.
the X-Men, which is
Right. So it's just very like
Yeah, she saw. Yeah.
where we
That's
at
what I
right
mean.
now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just very like all these things are like, you know, and even in Ant-Man, you know, so it's like and we're gonna deal with all these things, but it's like every movie kind of ended the same. But I have no sense of time of like when this happened here, what was happening here. You know, like I'm excited for them to kind of calm down a little bit or
Yeah.
like help us figure out like
well, I think,
okay, so Loki happened first and then Spider, you know, like it's
but I think it
confusing.
works. I think it works here in terms of post-credit scenes. I think
Here
it
is cool.
works.
I have no problems with this.
Well, I
It
think it
makes a little
works
more sense.
because it works because it's still a continuation of the story. It's not
Right.
a random end credit scene that can happen in any movie. It can only
Yes.
work
Right.
in the movie with these characters because it's still continuing the themes and the plot. You know, John
I
Walker
like that
comes
it's
in,
confirmed to have happened after
Captain America.
Captain America.
Falcon. At least
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
that confirmation. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Like I
It's
love
probably
a
the most
timeline
it's probably the most
confirmation.
recent, right? It's the most
Yeah.
recent.
Right.
I think in timeline it's probably the most recent leading up to Fantastic Four. It's probably happening at the same time as Fantastic Four because I think that Fantastic Four shot we see is how Fantastic Four ends, right? So I think it's kind of like their
Probably.
overlap
Yeah.
with that. But Andrew, I want to ask you. You know, I don't know how familiar you are with the comics, but it does happen in the comics where you have two competing Avengers teams. What do you think now? The idea that we have two teams, and some people like what's happening, some people don't. Sam doesn't. He's put a copyright on the Avengers name.
I
And
love
funny
that.
enough, in real world,
It's
all the
valid
Avengers.
though.
Have you guys seen all the Avengers social media pages in real world have put the
So dope.
copyright trademark
Have they
on
really?
the names? Yeah.
That's so funny.
So,
So
what do you
dope.
think? What do you think of like that end credit scene and what it sets up for the future, Andrew?
I think the craziest part about it is you mentioned this in another group, is the real life name changing, right? I
Mhm.
feel like, yeah, Marvel's fully like, nope, we're flipping everything
They're
on its
committed
head.
to
Because I'm
this.
like, come on, so people haven't seen the movie. They're like, okay, and
That's your fault.
and I feel like guess what? If I hadn't seen the
Changing
movie,
everything to New Avengers.
yeah,
Fuck you guys.
but this would make me see the movie even faster. It's so smart because I'd be like, what the hell? Why did they change the title?
Right, what are you talking
But
about? New Avengers?
yes.
That movie didn't come out yet. Yeah, it
And
did.
you're right, because I've been on Reddit.
Yeah, it
I feel like
did.
Reddit understands, but the Twitter people are so confused, and I'm like, oh, are you new to
Aw.
comics? Oh, you guys have you been
Aw.
first time like that James Franco meme with
Right.
the
Y'all don't understand a
with the
big
news?
big reveal.
Like, come on, what do you mean? The only people worse than fans are fans themselves. So I love it. I'm so excited to see, because this means we're gonna have what, two sets of Avengers, some X-Men, and some Fantastic Four, all in the same
They're all in.
All
There's not enough
battling
shawarma
it
space.
out
spot.
for who's
Yeah,
the team.
all
There's
getting
something
one
going on.
shawarma.
There's something going in space. What space? What's wrong with the space? There's a lot of space
What's
here.
it? Yeah.
I love it too because you're reminded like
So
these
good.
are the guys who haven't been to space.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, they haven't been to other realms.
yeah.
Like, because like I watched the most recent Spider-Man recently. What was it? No Way Home.
Three,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I watched Spider-Man No Way Home like recently, and I was cracking up. You know, when the Peters are all talking,
Into
And he's like,
space.
blah, blah, blah. You know, I fought with the Avengers and, you know, in a battle in space. So you've been to space,
Space
you
and
know? Because you're reminded, like, oh, yeah, like, that's not
there's
normal.
Not
levels to
normal.
this shit. It's not at all.
Not
It's
everybody
like,
fights in space.
Even
You
if you're
know?
a superhero,
Right, even as a superhero. Like,
Mhm.
most superheroes have not been to
I'm
space.
still just
Daredevil's
on
not
Earth
going to space. You know what I'm saying?
yet.
Like, right, yet. I feel like our Daredevil's gonna
like
go to
Yeah.
seeing
space
and
at some
interacting with
point.
aliens is not normal.
But it's funny because Kamala Khan's been to space. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So you would assume
Fair.
a newer, like Miss Marvel,
Mhm.
meeting somebody like Sam Wilson, you'd assume Sam has been to space over Kamala, but
No,
that's
he
not
is
true.
not. No.
You know, so I do
Yes.
love those moments that you're reminded that like this scale of
Mhm.
superhero, like there's
Yeah.
international, there's inter what galactical, you know, they all travel in different
Interactions.
spaces.
No,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
right. And
interdimensional.
I was saying how what this does a good job of as well. You know, for the longest time, us as fans have been asking, you know, when are we going to see a new Avengers movie? The last one
Mhm.
was Endgame. Well, 2019. You know,
Yeah.
it's like this is
Yeah,
the longest
This was subtle, but it
6 years.
was.
yeah.
And it's just like, well, Marvel were like, we're giving you Avengers, just don't worry about it, because we got our Avengers movie. You
Yeah.
know, we had our Avengers movie, and I was having a debate with someone the other day who was saying that it's a terrible spoiler for Marvel to do as a spoiler, and I was like, I think it's more of a, I don't think it's I think we live in a time where people throw the word spoiler too loosely.
Yeah.
I think it's a surprise. It's a fun surprise. It's
It's
not a
a
spoiler.
surprise. Yeah.
If you've never seen the film, I tell you,
It doesn't ruin the movie.
Yeah.
what does it tell you about the story? It doesn't tell you anything about the story.
Not a single thing. You wouldn't even believe the title. You'd be like, there's
I
no
feel
way.
like it's a nice little surprise. I feel like it's like you
Yeah.
have milk and
Mm-hmm.
then you went to grab it and now
Yeah.
it's chocolate milk instead of plain milk.
No,
But it's
same.
not
it's like-
spoiled milk.
But-
Like
It's not
like someone said to
spoiled.
me,
It's still good. It's
but
better. Like,
for me, it's the
yeah.
same thing as like any other team up movie, right? The Guardians don't become the Guardians until the end.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
knowing the title that they become Guardians of the Galaxy, it's not a spoiler of the film
Yeah.
because
True.
it's just telling you what they become. You know, it's just, I look at this the same way. They become the new Avengers at the end of the film. But how they
True.
become that, the story of the Century and the Void, and dealing with mental illnesses and mental health, and dealing with trauma, that tells you nothing from calling it New Avengers. In fact, it gives you
I think
probably the opposite.
I was about to say, I feel like it throws you off even more, which is almost intentional. But what I love
Yeah.
about it is I'm such a big fan of, like, you know, games where it's a shared world, and once somebody completes one thing, it opens up for all the gamers, right? So like the fact that they've done this is like changing the game. So it's like, oh, we're spoiling ourselves. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right,
Let's
right.
let's see. I'm about to go look through every other poster they've ever launched. Like, is there a Wolverine somewhere I've missed?
Right. And I think it does a
Right.
good job of two things. One, it reminds people, if you're a real fan, you better watch that movie opening weekend.
And if you
Because
if you
I
haven't,
bet you
well,
the next few Marvel movies, people are not going to waste any time. They're going to be like,
True, because I saw it twice before they started changing signs. Where y'all
right.
at?
Where are you gone?
Mhm.
And I think two, again, I said this at the beginning, I think because of nostalgia, you know, we forget that the original Avengers team, we questioned, like, that's Thor, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, Chris Hemsworth, Captain America. We all questioned
We're
it.
like, Hawkeye.
Yeah, right.
Shooting
But
arrows.
after the fact, everyone's like,
shawarma,
no,
shawarma. I want
I want them
shawarma.
back. I
Yeah.
think this, by Marvel tricking us, I think if Marvel told us from the beginning that this was a new Avengers movie, everyone would hate the characters.
100%.
Absolutely.
Nope.
Yep.
The
Nope.
Avengers, bro. They'd be
Right.
mad.
But
Huh?
by tricking us, you know, like when someone's like, "Oh, try this," when someone has you try like a non-meat burger and you loved it, and you're like, "Ha, there's no meat in that." You're like, "Damn it, they got
Yeah,
me."
right.
Yeah.
But if they told you beforehand that it
Yeah.
wasn't meat, you would have been
Yeah.
like, "No, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like this." So you wouldn't have given it a chance. So I think it opens the door that we're going to be more welcoming of new members, or at least give them a chance going forward, because we know, okay, fine, they can do it. And I also think that in terms of that narrative of Marvel is back, I think everyone was excited for Fantastic Four already, but I think this just gave it a huge like shot in the arm. Like Fantastic Four is just going to be even bigger because of this film. I think this film is
I
giving
also
it a
feel like
layer.
they're not going to hold back in Fantastic Four. Like, and I like that. I like that. It seems like it's going to be a full-on fucking comic book movie. Like, this is Silver Surfer. There's a fucking lady made out of some type of space mercury.
We have Galactus.
Right.
actual Galactus,
like actual, like we've seen him.
not
It's
a smoke monster.
Nope.
And
This
a
is
big ass
this is
Galactus. Like the scale is crazy.
probably making them leave their whole universe.
Yeah, I'm beyond hype. I'm interested though. Paris and I kind of have a theory, like, you know, like the Fantastic Four going back into space at the end of their movie and end up in our reality trying to fix theirs,
Well,
and that's how we meet them.
No,
I mean,
I don't
maybe
think
it's
trying to fix
obvious.
that. I think their universe is plain destroyed, and they're escaping.
That's
See,
what
I think
what
that
I
they're.
think.
I think they think they're gonna get back to it. I think they have the foolish
No,
idea
think,
of we're gonna leave it, save you, and come back, and they have nothing to go back to.
Well, I think
it'll be that.
I do also have the benefit
We'll
of
save you, and like the second they get into space, they have to watch it be destroyed.
Well, I have
and then they're like, may as well find somewhere else, and then maybe they find.
I have the benefit of comics, obviously, and there's a storyline called Time Runs Out with the Fantastic Four, which is similar, where Galactus comes and destroys the universe, and the reason why they come to the main universe is like, hey, Galactus coming for you next. So
trust me.
What, Secret Wars is coming.
Exactly.
Doomsday is coming. So.
And I like what I like about
sense. Somebody's got to tell us there's an intergalactic war going on.
But not just what you mentioned, Raven. You know, you said Doomsday and Secret Wars. I think having two Avengers teams is going to play on that, where one team is Doomsday, one
space
team is
guys.
You know, different,
gonna have to fight
or maybe mixture of teams, kind of two different things.
I was gonna say.
Because you know what though, it's the same as in the army. In the army, you have your navies, you know, you have your Marines,
Air Force.
you have, your Air Force. So
they all have a purpose.
I think that's kind of what it's going to be: a team, a B team. Even with the young Avengers, I think that's going to come in hardcore because, like, you know, that's a whole nother thing we haven't even fully tapped into. And also, Ironheart. I didn't realize it was coming out next month.
Yeah, next month.
Crazy, so soon. Though we had mad times. So I guess that's the next one.
So far, it's been in production for like 4 years.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't feel like it was actually coming out. Like, I'm like, wait, it's really coming out next month? Or
I'm almost nervous.
I want to quickly mention about Valentina. I love Louise Dreyfus's. I love what she's done with the character. I think she's perfect. I also love that she can kick ass. That guy Holt, when she's like, ceasefire, takes him out.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit.
I was like, wait.
Okay.
But I also feel like all of these little power hungry motherfuckers be experimenting on themselves.
They got a little juice, right?
Which is what we found out about good old Red Hulk. So I'm sure she's been juicing herself on the low every day. She's taking something. If she's not taking super soldier serum, she's taking the most extreme steroids to where it's borderline superhero.
Which is a good reminder, this film, through Bob and Valentina and her team. Because she's not. We forget that she runs this company that's not with the government. I forget what was it called again. Ox Corp. Yeah. You know, something like that. That you thought in 1942 when Dr. Erskine created the super soldier serum and died, you thought people were going to stop trying to recreate super soldier serums.
Right. Wow.
This movie reminds us that
it worked though, so he's definitely not. They're definitely not
quite the opposite. Others would be like,
right, because it worked.
Wait, it worked.
Like people are going to keep. So even if he died, again, you have good almost 100 years of people trying to do it. People are going to get close, even if it's not perfected. And I think this movie kind of perfects this idea that what's it called? The super soldier serum, whether it works or not, it still enhances who you are. Right, it works on Steve a certain way. Like, look how it affects Bob. Right, look how it affects John Walker. Right, the serum kind of affects. You still have to have the goodness and the heroic nature within you for it to amplify that. Right, it doesn't put it in you. Yeah, and I thought that did a good job of that. Raven, to start with you, Andrew, come to you next. What were some of your favorite moments, quotes, or parts that we haven't spoken about?
I was on meth.
In the chicken suit.
Nothing in the chicken suit.
If that chicken suit guy hits me one more time.
He literally turned him, if you hit me one more time, I was on meth. I absolutely love that moment. I also there's a lot of great moments. I was on meth moment. I love this story behind the Thunderbolts name.
Yes,
I was going to say that
because all of us watching at home, I think I think we all were wondering, like, what is the name reveal going to be? Because, you know, especially being that that we know Ross's nickname was Thunderbolt, you know, and the Falcon movie came out recently. I think a lot of us maybe wondered, does the president or Red Hulk, Ross have anything to do with creating this team at all. Like, is that something that's going to be happening in the background or whatever? And absolutely fucking not. Nope, zero correlation. The Thunderbolts is the name of Yelena's soccer team growing up that didn't win any games ever, apparently, and a little girl pooped during a game one day. And I love how throughout the entire movie it keeps getting brought up. We are the Thunderbolts. They're like, who's the Thunderbolts? I don't know what that means. Oh, it was like this team with changed tires.
Different sponsors.
Little girl pooped herself. Long thing.
I love that. I love that argument about the different sponsors. It goes a long way to showing that their time spent together. It's like you're kind of reminiscing over something. Like, no, it wasn't. It was this other name.
Like, come on, yeah.
It was a great way to show like their connection. That was brilliant. Anything else, Andrew? Anything else, Raven? Anything else that you liked?
Quick one. I remember when they were leaving the military camp or escaping and driving, they just told John, "Identify yourself." He was
No.
like, no. It's like,
he said, but the best thing is he said, "Let me do the talking."
Yeah,
That's what makes it better. And all of them go,
yeah, like what do you mean?
Because they knew. JV Cap.
Junior varsity Captain America.
Literally. Yeah. A moment I noticed too, when Miss Dufontaine said, who's this old Santa? Yeah. I love that moment because I don't know if y'all have seen it, but the movie Violent Night, starring David Harbour playing Santa is one of my favorite fucking Christmas movies of all time. It's only been out like 2 or 3 years, but it's become a part of my like must watch during Christmas rotation, and I just love it because I was like, wow, he was Santa. So part of me wonders, like, was that a play? Was that like a dig at him playing Santa in an actual movie?
Probably.
Or, I felt like that was the directors being like, yeah, we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I like Red Guardian when he's just like, moving to DC was a great decision. Isn't this Baltimore? No. Baltimore's one block over.
Baltimore is one block over. Especially because I've lived there. It's like, sorry.
You lived in Baltimore?
No, DC.
When Walker is trying to capture the beginning, when he still thinks that Valentina's on his side, when he's like, okay, go on, tie yourselves up.
Like, what?
Like,
yeah, Ghost.
All of them were like, no.
What do you mean tie yourselves up?
The delusion.
Did you notice? Did you notice Walker's on your left moment?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, when they're trying to find Raven, when they're trying to find the box that was blocking Ghost from using her powers at the beginning, and then Yelena goes to cut it, and then Walker's like, on your left, and he smashes it with a shield. It's a nice little moment.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I love the moment when when Yelena jumped off of Alexi's shield. The same way that Black Widow did with Cap in the Avengers. I was yeah.
Also,
I recognize that.
I know Super Soldier and all that, but damn, I didn't know Super Soldiers could jump that high. John went pretty high. And he's like, let me check.
Yeah. Like, he also said it's a pretty long drop.
Yeah.
He can jump pretty high, but that drop is longer, for sure.
Going back a bit, I think what I loved in that fight...
I didn't know that either, and he didn't have to run.
Right, he just jumped. When it makes sense though, Super Soldier, you just don't think about it. Yeah. I like the fight with Bob, with Sentry, because I thought as much as he was Sentry, there was still enough Bob. Andrew, you caught on this, that you could tell he was kind of protecting him.
Kill them. Yeah.
He throws Alexi out, brings it back in. And then he smashes Yelena on the ceiling, then catches her.
He's so compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
He cared about
catches
Yelena.
her and drops him. And I think when he says, "Why should I kill them? They're not a threat to me." I think that's part of it too, where he's like, "No, I want to kill them. Like, there's not.
Kill them. Whoa, yeah. Just need them to know who's boss.
I think once they shot Bob, I think when Bob died when he was shot, man, like that was the end of Bob. Because like he came back, but you know what I'm saying, like in terms of character. But Bob was still in there during the whole Sentry fight.
He is, because even moments like, again, when they're fighting him, even though he's like, it doesn't hurt, he's not trying to hurt them. He's not like, shut up. He's like, oh, come on, guys. Yeah. It's like when your little sibling or your child is trying to be tough on you. You're just like, come on, get off me. Stop it. He's kind of has that nature to him where he's not actually trying to kill them. He's just trying to stop. And I thought that was done brilliantly. And I thought just even when Bucky's fighting him, when there's that moving fast, Bucky goes to shoot him, throws him up, catches him. just the way his speed was done, that shifting, that quick shift.
Yeah.
Because usually a lot of movies, when they show super speed, it's done by slow-mo. And I hate that.
Right.
You know,
for me, the gunshot moment was the best show of the power. Because I like that he pushed the shots, but once he deflected them off of him, the bullets proceeded to go back in the same speed they would have if he didn't slow it down. Like, I love that, like, once it gets out of the range of him, it goes back to, you know, like shooting at people.
And even melts
I was like,
the
that's
gun.
done really well.
He even melts one of the guns where it's like, he's looking at it, he melted his eyes. I thought that was dope.
And also, probably my last thing, the actor said, what's his name? Louis Pullman.
Yes.
I saw him in an interview, and he actually spoke on the fact that getting his body in physical shape was really important to him.
God, you see
he was insanely ripped. Yo, that little shirt ripped. I was like,
teaser. It's a little teaser. I was like,
damn,
okay, Century boy.
Damn, Bob. But yeah, he said it was because he wanted his body type and his character to fit the writing at all stages. So he said, I needed to look like both Bob, Sentry, and Void. He said, I hate it in movies where you see like a character gets enhanced or something and you can only tell through the effects. You know, he was like, I wanted it. Right. He said that he spoke with the director about, you know, the best way to make these powers look believable. And he felt like, Bob, if you're taking any type of serum that would make you super strong, it's going to have effects on your physical body. So he's like, I should be, you know, ripped, or I should be muscular, because the serum should have affected my actual physical body beyond, you know, him being nerdy and stuff. So he worked on, so his like acting wise, whenever he was Bob, he just worked on his body language while being strong. It's like, you could be strong, but you have to look weak, you know. He's like bad posture, not making eye contact, you know, being kind of fidgety, stuff like that, you know. And then when he's Sentry, it's the same body, but him just standing up straight, you know,
and
changes everything.
And the hair back.
Yeah, but you know, technically he got meth muscles. We've all seen meth heads with muscles.
Have we, Raven? Have we?
I mean, I live in Long Island, so.
But even as the Void,
meth cap.
I think as the Void, he was great. Like the way he kind of embodied that kind of the dark, kind of like, no one cares about you, no one likes you, you're all by yourself alone.
Wow.
Just like I think he did a good job of, if Bob was someone in real life, I'd like, he can flip any moment now. When he talks about it, right? He's like, I have my good days,
Bob
but
is that little dude you don't f with. He's that dude. If he shows up in a trench coat, go home.
You don't know.
You see Bob at school. You got them combat.
You hope he's on your side.
Right, you're hoping that he texts you, "Don't go to school today."
I loved when Bob is trying to escape with Yelena, and he's like, keeps saying, "I can help, I can help, I can help." So Yelena gives him a gun, and what does he do? Shoot a guy's foot. He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
Apologize immediately, but he did help. And then Yelena said it too when he ran away with the distraction, and they looked in the mirror. She said, "Oh no, Bob helped." I love that moment. It's so true. Because as the audience, all of us,
he helped. He reminded me of Jensen helping Tony. He's like running in Iron Man 1. I loved Alexi's defensive measures in his car. It reminded me of that
was
Ragnarok.
My last thing, Pony. Who were you driving?
It reminded me of "It's my birthday." It's my birthday.
In Ragnarok.
Oh, I was like,
who
it's
are you
my
driving?
birthday.
I love that Pony. He said, "Hold on, just gotta power her up." Pony. You know what? It got me motivated. Like, let's go. I'll go whoop some ass to Pony.
I mean, I guess we didn't talk about a very brief moment. I mean, still in the Bucky scene on the motorbike, just when John was like, "Yay, Bucky!" And I was like, "Oh, wait, not good, not a friendly."
I loved when they all join to help in the Void. They come to save Yelena and Bob, and Alexi jumps out. It's like, "Evil pillow!" She's ripping it to shreds.
I love that. Was also a sweet moment that they ended up being able to find each other in the Void in the same room, because that's Bucky's like, it took a lot for Yelena to find homeboy, so you know.
And Bucky's like, "I'm fine. I've been through a lot. I'm okay."
Yeah, my past is great.
Right.
So
Bucky's like, "Oh yeah." It's like me. Why would I have a nightmare here? What are you talking about? My upbringing was great.
I love the ending. I think again, Lewis Pullman does a fantastic job of just being like, "What happened?" what's going on? And everyone's like, wait, what? You remember nothing?
Yeah.
He's just like confused, like, I don't know what's going on, guys. And I actually like at the end credit scene when everyone's talking about all this big crazy stuff, and he's like, and I washed the dishes. Yay. And that might seem like such a trivial thing, but for someone who's gone through what he's gone through, that's a good thing, and
Yeah.
shit, have you seen Alexi's room? You need someone who's good at washing the dishes.
You do. Yeah.
That is literally what Alexi needed. Someone to wash the dishes. Someone please clean up after Alexi. Thank you.
Alexi is like, if somebody could fly, we'd get there quickly. Like, wait.
And then he was like, what are you going to ride on the Void's back? He was like, yes, that would be amazing. Red Guardian rides in on the back of the Void.
I could see him imagining it.
Flies into space.
Like, oh, yes. Fantastic.
Right.
Oh my God. I do love
Avengers.
that. Wait, like you see even at the end.
With a Z.
In the news clippings, it was like, who's this guy hanging out with the new Avengers? And everyone's like, who's Bob? I do like he's still around. I do like that they didn't get rid of him.
Yeah.
I like that he's still kind of part. There's like the new Avengers.
Definitely, we're going to need Sentry to defeat Doom.
Yes. And fun fact,
with Sentry comes Void.
That's the thing. That's what I love about the Void character from the comics, right? Is that you give us a
one without the other.
You give us a superpowered person, a super more powerful than the Superman, OP higher.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's a caveat. There's a caveat. You can't use it because using it means you're using the other side too.
The curfew.
and I kind of love seeing those limitations. In fact, in the real world comics, the Sentry was created as an allegory for Superman to kind of play around with that kind of idea. He's Superman's powered by the sun. Void Sentry's power of 1,000 suns.
It's crazy that Superman's only issue is some damn
kryptonite.
Kryptonite that you can't even. It's hard to find on Earth.
Yeah.
He's out here chilling. Fucking Sentry. They're like, oh, and your nemesis is you.
Yeah. It's like
you got this. Yeah, same powers.
You're all powerful.
Dark side of you.
But the dark side of you, and you're mentally unstable, so we can't. So that you can't lean on that every time, right? You can't go straight to that.
You have all the powers in the world, but you probably can't use them.
But even the heroes, the heroes can't come to you. It's like the next Thanos comes. You can't be like, all right, call Bob. No, don't call Bob.
Yeah, like Bill and Bob, like definitely don't call Bob. Bob's gonna make it worse.
It's like literally try everything else except for that.
Right, please no Bob.
But that's what makes it lit, because you're like, when I guess I'm just imagining when like the moment where we all realize, all right, we need Sentry.
Yes, when it's actually like, okay.
I was like, listen, I'll take Void right now. Like, whatever.
We'll take it.
Right.
We need it.
It's tough though, because I do feel like, and I haven't read as many comics on Sentry, so I don't know fully, but it sucks because it seems like Bob has or could have control over Sentry, but I think it's the Void specifically that he can't
That's what it is.
connect with, which is trash. Because it sucks because like for example, like Bruce, and Hulk were able to come together and for Smart Hulk, and that's great. But it's like the Void and Bob, I don't know if it comes to a point where they get cool, but they're just always at odds.
It's one or the other, and you can't kill one without killing the other, and you can't save one.
Yeah, and then when you kill one, the other one raises up anyway, so they can't.
And that's part of why in the comics he does things to himself to make him lose his memory, because if he forgets he has those powers, he doesn't tap into them, so that the Void doesn't come out. Right? So it kind of plays with that, and I do love that. They did a good job of bringing the character, and it's different to how they bring him into the comics. He still has the same trauma, the same mental health issues. That's still the same, but how he's introduced,
he's also an alcoholic, not on meth. That's a 2025 problem.
Well, that's more because updating things.
Yeah,
but in the real world, because I think he was introduced in comics in like
2003, I think,
something like that. Yeah, but in real world, the way they did it was that there's been this character. The Sentry, who's been around this whole time. Marvel even re-released old comics that had him in the background, and the idea was that
he was at like Hank Pym's wedding and stuff like that.
He was all that, and the idea was that when he found out about the Void, he made everyone forget who he was, even us, the readers.
Yeah.
So even the readers forgot who he was. So it was a really smart kind of way to do it. The reason why
he goes to Doctor Strange to help him with his memory, which is a dope tie-in too.
Well, the reason why they didn't do it is because he's doing similar territory to the Spider-Man movies, exactly, with Doctor Strange and things like that.
That's literally what happened.
One thing that I would, even though it's similar, I'd actually have loved that Doctor Strange being like another one
again.
Like, really,
right? Like you bastards in your memories.
Also, final thing I want to mention, I loved when Red Guardian comes and says, like you said, to warn them, and he's like, how long have you been driving? All night. America, very big place.
Don't touch that big gulp.
Like, how
You
long
don't
were you
drink that.
driving for?
Oh, it's like, what was in that?
I haven't slept. Asleep when I'm dead.
No, I'd like someone else to drive, please. All right. I think that's. I
I
can
love
talk about this
watching that
movie.
limo flip. That was so good.
Oh,
Old
so
school
good.
limo flip. There
But
were
again,
real
it's just
explosions in that movie. Also,
practical
they did
effects.
actually blow
Yeah,
up
they
the
did.
apartment.
Yes.
Like that
Oh,
apartment was actually blown up in real life.
Raven, you teased about the sequence in the void sequence and the falling through the hole and stuff. They can go into more detail now quickly about how they did that.
Oh yeah, so the scenes where they were going through what was it?
And
Interdimensional,
the
interconnected
rooms
shame
and the
rooms. That's
yes,
what
Yes, interconnected
that's what
shame
Elena
rooms.
called it.
exactly
Interconnected
that.
shame rooms.
Precisely that.
During those scenes, those were actual physical rooms. So in one of the scenes where you see Elena fall like forward and
She
she
fell
falls down
90
onto the
degrees.
table in the red
Great
room where the
shot.
girls were
Yep,
all setting
yep.
up, that was actually an actual fall
And then she
into a
looks
real
back,
room.
sees through the hole. That was
Yeah, and
great.
can see through the hole, so it's crazy.
And they're looking at
Definitely
her
look
through the
into the
hole.
behind the scenes of that
Freaky.
movie, guys, because it's a
Yeah.
lot of dope shit. I could sit here and talk all day about the practical effects, but yeah, real explosion in the building. They actually blew up and flipped that limo and those Hummers.
And
The
Yelena
actual
jumped off.
motorcycle sequence. Florence Pugh actually jumping off a building. Like it was a lot of really really dope shit. And I
Tom
just,
Cruise would be
I think
proud.
that just goes to prove why the movie is so good. I think that
You know,
if Marvel keeps at this grounding in practicality wave, I think the next
And
reiteration is going to be
uniqueness.
amazing.
one final thing I'll add. Actually, two final things I add. One, it's De Fontaine. I don't call that guy the Ministry of
Yeah.
Defense. It's defense. I'm like, it's not the same. I'm like, it's not the same thing, but okay.
But I hear
De
you.
Fontaine.
I hear you. It's the spelling. It's the spelling, right? She didn't
Right,
add the de
defense.
herself.
I'm like,
Come
she's
on.
got a point.
Come on.
Miss Fontaine.
Miss
I love
Fontaine.
him.
What damn I was gonna say? Shit, I was gonna make a point that I liked about this. God damn it, I think I lost my point.
I like that you saw the DC monument with scaffolding at the bottom because Red Hulk just like scratched that up a little bit. If you remember, it's like a little continuity. Second time the monument's been screwed by Marvel Spider-Man.
Damn it, there was one last thing I was going to say. Let me see if I can save it here.
So,
never mind. I think I'll remember it afterwards and I'll be like, damn it.
Next podcast.
Right.
right.
The next Marvel podcast. I'm sure we'll have something soon.
Right. Let me just look through my notes. Anything else that I wanted to talk about that we didn't? I think I have everything.
I actually said everything. But there's so much in this movie. It's hard to keep it short. It's like a thing.
That's the other. That's 100%. I think, especially
like there's so many things in this movie.
And we're probably missing out and just like, going in depth to some of the
right. I'm still gonna look back and be like, "Fuck."
Even breaking down lines of dialogue and exchanges. They had great.
Like
great
I have so many
exchanges.
quotes saved in my notes, and I'm like, Raven, you can't just quote the whole movie. You will literally just start reiterating. Like, you're just, like, and then this one said, and then she said. Like,
let's just get the script. Let's us reenact the whole thing.
right. I'm about to start like, all right, so you play this person. I'll be Elena.
I'll be Alexi.
And then we stopped every time to kind of explain the character motivations in the scene. So right now, Elena's going through this. Her sister just died, and she's going through these emotions.
Even just the colors in this movie, I could spend bad time on that too, and I didn't even go in on that. Whatever. No, we don't have time. All right, last moment during the fight with Sentry versus the whole Thunderbolts team. I love that the entire movie, for the most part, was grayscale, blue hues, and that moment with Sentry. If you notice, everything in the room is grayscale except the steps he's coming down and the area near where Valentina is standing, because that's the little glimpse that you have that he's going to be a good guy, and there's hope. And it's the same glimpse that Sentry has for himself, and after that it's complete darkness. Like there's a little bit of light, and then it goes to complete darkness, and like you said, there's highs and then extreme lows. So that was like a color warning in the movie. And then after everything goes dark in the last end of the movie and everything goes back to normal, it's the most vibrant that the movie is for the entire film. And I was like,
cooking.
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say between revisiting the Black Widow movie and just seeing some of the clips from this, I want a Black Widow like Academy or whatever TV show. Like setting that time.
It goes there. They kill the kids.
Like I'd love to see that.
The fact that they whipped every other child but the one who came first
because she came first.
I mean,
Just
come
like
on, like at least top two,
Which
top
teaches
three.
you
Come
every
on, yeah.
type of yeah.
If you're
Every
not
good
first,
thing you
you're
do has
last.
consequences.
Yep,
and I love
that's
how
a fact.
she shields her younger
Shields
self from it,
herself,
even
yeah.
though you can't
I'm like,
really because
girl,
it
it's just
happened.
a memory, girl.
Yeah, it's so good, so good. Again,
Definitely.
the themes of this story. Again, I think for me, this is a movie that reminds me why I love superhero stories and sci-fi as a whole. I think a lot of people think I like sci-fi and superhero stories because of the pew pew bang
Pew
smash.
pew, yeah.
No, I like it because you can put a magnifying glass on the human condition.
Yeah.
Because all the simple everyday human stuff we go through gets amplified through the lens of science fiction and superhero stories, right? And I think telling this kind of course, there's many stories that have talked about mental awareness and stuff like that, but I think this telling it through this lens helps it stand out from the crowd, helps highlight things that other stories might have glossed over, or you kind of washed over certain things, but now you pay more attention because of the lens it's been told through. And I always said that my favorite science fiction stories are the ones that talk about people. And I think this falls into that category. I thought it's brilliantly done.
1000%.
All right.
And,
I think
to paraphrase Biggie Smalls, more power, more problems. These people struggle too.
And again,
These people.
my final note I'll tell everyone is like, I'll die on that hill that at least as far as we've seen so far, the whole narrative of superhero fatigue is nonsense. It's just good movies and bad movies. I will accept fatigue. I'm not saying fatigue never exists. I'm saying I'll accept it if we get a string of good movies that nobody cares for. That's when I accept fatigue. You can't tell me like, Secret Invasion was trash, Ant-Man Quantumania was trash. You see superhero fatigue. I'm like, no, they're just bad movies. Like, that's what it is. It's not fatigue means fatigue means I don't care about the quality. I don't care. That for me, that's fatigue. You could tell me it's Oscar level. I don't care. I'm tired of it. That's fatigue. But I think this proves to us people aren't tired of movies. They're tired of bad movies.
Yes,
give them a good movie,
unoriginal movies. Yes. Even if we can guess some things, like still surprise me.
give them a good movie, and people will show up. I think that's for me. Yes, and I think after this movie, people are like, shit, we better show up on time.
Yep. I feel like in the same week, both Sinners and Thunderbolts killing it. Sinners, an indie movie.
I saw them same week, and
an independent film. You know what I'm saying? Week. One of the biggest movies in box office period, like of the year.
Shit.
You make a good movie, people
Minecraft is doing well. Anyway, what did you nerdies think of this movie? Do you think Marvel is back? What do you feel about the future of the franchise? And what do you think of the return of our favorite team? Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god, we didn't even talk about the new... Quickly, what do you guys think of the new Marvel intro?
When it went...
It was comic book panels. It wasn't video anymore. It used to be video clips of the previous movies.
I love it because we're getting back to the basics.
All century?
We're getting back to the fundamental pillars of what made Marvel awesome. So going back to the comic, imagery is fucking amazing.
Yes,
I love it. We're in a new era, a good era. We back.
The fact that we've been alive long enough to see Marvel go from nothing to Blade to amazing to almost shit again for a brief second to back to we back is like
36 movies in the MCU.
Yeah, and we're still comparing them to great. I mean, come on.
Come on.
Anyway, this multiverse ain't that bad.
Again. Even at its worst, it's still doing good overall.
36 movies, come on.
Anyway, send us your thoughts. Find us on social media at The Nerdy Bunch. You can also find us an email, thenerdybunchpod@gmail.com. Anyway, thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, all you nerdies who have listened to this full podcast, because it's going to be long as hell. And
if you made it to the end, make sure you comment RDA. No, RAD.
Yep. RAD. Why? Rad. For some reason.
I'll give you a prize.
No, you don't comment rad. Comment cucumber. That's how you
cucumber.
Made it to the end, and we'll send you a prize.
There you go. And a famous Marvel no prize.
Didn't sound sketchy.
On that note,
we're losing all
and
ideas.
As always, Andrew.
Keep it nerdy.
Peace.